Hello and welcome back to Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Summer Showdown 2025 you're joining in for. We're just about to start the top cut here. And when you begin a journey, you bring a friend. Aksu, how's it going?
Going really well. Went a bit late yesterday, but I'm really happy to be here.
I can't believe how late it goes. Aksu, you're the absolute king of like 10, 12-hour streams. You get that lost content once you hit that 12-hour mark. But yesterday was 10 hours of Netrunner that you were streaming pretty late from your side of the world. It was 149 players. For those who are not familiar, this is the Summer Showdown, which is a series of ongoing tournaments that Abraham, maninthemoon, has been running classically about 2 a year. And they've been phenomenal. I don't want to say the word excuse because it has a bad connotation, but like good reasons to get involved in global organized play. How was it yesterday? 149 players. It's a new meta. It's elevation. What did things look like on your end?
It was really interesting. Like there were so many different decks that you really couldn't get any idea on what's happening. Kind of. You just saw everybody playing kind of different ideas, different brews. There were some consistencies. Like everybody was loving Auko yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But outside of that, like it was really interesting to like roll into a completely different matchup basically every round.
Yeah, so Elevation just came out. There's the massive rotation. And so we had an idea of what we're expecting to see in the meta. I don't think we saw anything that was too surprising. So the big identities that people were looking for, Auko, where they're looking for Nebula. And if we look at the top cut here, mind you, we have 16 players from the 149. Technically, it's going down to player 18 because we had 2 drops. Battle Fennec at 4th and Augustus Caesar on 6th were not able to play today. So those gets passed down. But if you look here just at the identities, you do see still a lot of Auko representation, which was the most represented corp on the corp side, but then Nebula, which was the second most represented corp, no Nebulas in sight. And that was one of the biggest, I would say, overperformers, it seemed like, in the first week of the game.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions on if the matchups just ended up being bad. Like
I think
we
they're
saw
bad.
Sable being the most popular ID in the tournament.
That's not good for
and
you.
I probably am not happy rolling Nebula into Sable, so could have been that. Could have been people actually have just started figuring the ID out, so it's not as performing as probably would have been previously.
Yeah.
It's really tough to say at this point yet.
Have you seen, so what did we see on Oko on stream yesterday? I don't think we saw anything that was, again, incredibly unexpected, but just kind of the regular, assets with a bit of burst damage kill in some of the lists. You got the Futs, you got the cohorts, you got the bladderworts. What can we expect today?
I would assume, yeah, exactly, basically what everybody is expecting. I think the most interesting thing in the lists is on where the influence is spent. Like, do we see message responses? Do we see oppos or something?
Oh wow, we saw
And
oppos
I
yesterday,
think
did
one
we?
of the lists is Hollow Man. I think
Cool.
we saw one oppo yesterday. Yeah, one of the lists is on 2 Hollow Man.
Super
Okay,
cool.
I might have spoken a bit too fast before checking the lists.
Yeah. Okay. No secrets gained. Yeah, that's.
Oh, there's Battlefield message responses, YDLs,
Whoa.
end of the lines, predictive oppos, yeah.
There's a lot of influence you can spend.
The influence is different in every list, basically.
And that's like Oko, all the powerful cards in the Oko deck, like the main cards that push you forward are all Jinteki cards, which is, a nice place to be. You have 15 influence to spend as you will. Now, I want to shout out the other identities. Jinteki was the most represented, if I'm not mistaken, and then every other faction on the corp side had the same amount of players. It was totally even. I think Wayland had the biggest spread of different identities. And you see here in the top 18, we have Op, we have Built to Last, a Zwicky group as well. People were showing up with Bangan. I believe there might have been 1 or 2 other Waylands, but it actually did perform relatively well across the different fields. My guess is that most of these op decks are actually going to be asset op decks with a bit of a kill twist, as opposed to this sort of like tempo scoring out op. Not that wasn't present yesterday, but it just didn't seem like the obvious thing to do with op in a post border control, post Rashida world.
I feel like assets kind of push you forward more than the ice versions do.
Yeah.
And if you're playing the heavy ice versions, I think you much rather just play like Built to Last or Zwicky or something else entirely.
Yeah, I could hear that. Now, I think really quickly we should talk about the runner side, and this is looking, I don't know, I wouldn't say entirely homogenous, but we see a lot of Hoshiko still performance. I'm super stoked to see the new Rio Phoenix Ono. They're showing up a bit in the top cut. Small Grump there on the first place position on 23 points. Did not drop a game with Phoenix, which is really cool to see. And I think Seb was actually the most expected Anarch, if you ask me, coming in today, with a lot of support with the new set, and just feels like a good matchup, both against mid-Glacier, but also very good cards against assets.
Yeah, for sure. Basically, Sebastian just didn't actually lose too much in the rotation. Like you lost Cleaver, but were people actually playing that anyways? And yeah, also we saw Hoshiko take the reins back, basically. I was so super down before on Hoshika, but yeah, actually looking at the list yesterday, I have been gaining a lot more hope in my favorite idea ever.
Yeah. Yeah, Hoshiko's still good. And I think I'm excited to see what these Hoshikos are. Now, on the criminal side, we talked about Sable showing up, a bit of Moosely Hot. We had a Berry player just missed the cut too, but there was a lot of criminal diversity. And then on the Shaper side, that was the least represented. It was only about a fifth of the field playing green cards. And while we had two Maggies break the top cut, Wynot and D, both great players from, I believe, the same region in America. I'm excited to see what that Maggie looks like. I think it's probably just good setup Shaper. We'll play a bit of that control game. Now, this is a double elimination top cut. For those who don't know how this works, the first player will be playing against the 18th player, second against the 17th, and so on and so forth. I'll just keep saying 16th, 15th, because it'll make more sense. Players are going to continue playing today until there's one player left who hasn't lost 2 games. As soon as you lose your second game, and these will be single-sided Swiss rounds, so it'll only be runner versus corp, they won't flip the table. If you lose a game, that's fine, you'll go to the lower bracket, and then if you lose your second game, you are out of the tournament today. Now, the one main benefit in the first round, and only exclusively in the first round of this tournament, is the 1st to 8th players, the top half players, they get to see their opponent's deck list and their identities, and they get to decide which side of the matchup they want to start their day on. So for instance here, Motion Blur is playing against Passive Molt, and Motion Blur can decide, yeah, I would actually rather play Build to Last into your Moosla Hat versus the opposite side. From this point on in the tournament, players will be forced to play whatever side they played the least, and if they ever come into an impasse where both players in round 2 have played Corp on round 1, a coin will be flipped. So this is the only turn, or the only round in the tournament in which you actually have a decision to work on based off your matchup spread. I think that's an incredibly valuable tool, especially when double elimination is pretty unforgiving. And so making sure that your first round is a good round to push you and keep you in that top bracket is worth a lot. I don't know if there's any matchups. I'm not sure if the players have agreed to this side yet. We might be waiting for the choices. This is also open deck lists, which means we can look at these deck lists through the tournament. And I'm probably going to be leading on you, Aksu, to shout out a couple of the cards in the lists as we play through the games.
We might be already starting off.
Oh my god, let's go. Okay, hold on. Let me find a game.
I think I had it there.
Do you want to pick a table?
Yeah, I can definitely. We can. I'll just show you the link.
Yeah, I'm in the JNet, so no stress. We just need to figure out what table we want to jump into. For those who
jumped into table 1 and asked.
Perfect. For those who are joining, mind you, welcome.
All right, table 1 is all right.
Awesome. Let's jump in. Welcome. Okay, sorry, excuse me, we missed a couple turns. Wow, Luthieus, she's up on 4 points already. That's 2 Project Yagi Udas. That is a 3-2 agenda with no relevant text that you don't commonly see in Oko here. But this Oko with 1 counter, a FUT on the table. It looks like he's done a bit of damage here, lost a couple cards, but this table's looking pretty comfortable on 4 points when they don't have to care about that text on Fuji.
Yeah, definitely feels more like a scoring list for the corporation than the typical one that just like tries to kill you somehow.
Yeah, my guess is that there's a bit of fast events tech. I don't know if people are playing Plutus and Oko or probably just Moonpool Oko, but you don't see these 3-2s unless pushing yourself forward on points is a big part of your game plan.
Yeah, looking at the list, we actually see Plutus in there with other scoring tools, so definitely a list that is more focused on scoring.
Super cool. Sable getting the mark, info bounty. We're going to go ahead and Estebrado R&D. You can still be hit by certain damage if it's specifically an enemy is the only thing you're worried about. But at least with the Estebrado, you're going to do that backflip over the ice and Oko won't get the counters. See what the axis here again. A Fuji can be points. We'll see if the fast events deck is playing a Fuji. Is Small Grump on Fujis here?
Yeah, for sure. We have 3 agendas with this 3 Fuji, 3 Yagi Uda, 3 Regenesis, and 3 Sting. So still some bite in the agendas with here.
Now this is FUT on the table. FUT will be getting a power counter at the end of every turn, and while Luthieus has the credits to trash this, while you might not be too concerned about it, Small Grump could put agendas on the table, and you get these sort of wild swings where you start scoring out, but double cohort means that Aoko can draw, what is it, 5 cards a turn now, technically?
Basically, just putting 3 cards into archives,
Yikes.
And that does mean that you flood up quite a bit.
Yeah, these Oko decks do mail themselves out, and just if you're not familiar, welcome to Elevation. This is the big egg on the Jinteki side, 4515. It says whenever you do damage or trash 1 or more cards from HQ, you get a power counter, and then at the start of your turn, you can trade in 2 of those power counters to look at the top 3 cards of R&D. You add 2 of them to HQ, the last one gets discarded, that's your choice, and that just means here, Small Grump is going to start the turn with a mandatory draw up with 8 cards in hand, and for a deck that's probably playing 20 plus assets, it's really easy to leverage cards in hand to some sort of table presence that hopefully gets a bit lethal and keeps snowballing you forward. Petty Cash
Yeah,
removed
for
from
sure.
game. This is such a fantastic card in Alco. Generally, you just want to discard it with Alco ability or cohort and then play it clicklessly. It's wild that Corpse got another sure gamble as much as it's spread over 2 turns.
It's really interesting. Like, I don't feel like anybody's playing the petty cash actually for the just hedge fund effect. Everybody's doing some sort of
It feels
really nasty
bad.
fast advance trick with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like feeling bad because you have to play a first click before you do anything. So you end up power drawing and doing all these like bad play patterns. It's only a click for 2, but a clickless click for 2 is a bit better. That's going to be followed up with a Hansei review, another nice way to get petty cash value. And again, this is a Plutus deck. So you're going to see a lot of transactions, specifically transactions like petty cash and peer review are very important because they either get a cheap or free install, let alone they give you those clicks you need to score out. So while Small Grump losing 2 3/2s, there's still potentially 5 more 3/2s you can play in a Jinteki deck in Modern Standard.
Yeah, I think we're just playing 3 in the list here. I think I'm not sure how the ruling actually goes on Regenesis and Fuji. Can you Plutus out?
You can.
Regenesis and actually score the
Yeah.
Fuji, yeah.
From my understanding, it's been worded that Plutus never trashes the operation. It just goes straight remove from game from archives. So you actually can Plutus. It's kind of neat. We're just brought your archives. It's not the mark. We just want to get a flip here. Whether there's a concern that there's a Regenesis play or whether you just want to check 5 face down cards. Now, this can be a lot of damage. If it's double stink, you actually can flatline here. Spin Doctor. Going to shuffle back.
Be really surprised to see.
Whoa, this deck is a bite. So there is just a 3 net damage crunch. This is the modern snare. The text is entirely the same. The art is very striking as well. So Archives is going to get flipped. It looks like it was 2 face down cards shuffled back. We're assuming that's agendas added back into the environment.
Yeah, more agendas to flood into. At least we have just seen 1 Spin Doctor yet.
Yeah.
So still can have bit of agenda control. And I don't see any other agenda control in the list, so it's going to be just those 2 Spin Doctors holding back the entire flood.
Luthius has been so aggressive while Small Grump's on 20 credits. No breakers, but it's that backstitching that says, okay, do you want to bounce around the Tattoo Bola? You might want to keep the backstitching so you can face check into some of the more scary ice. And Luthius knows actually what the scary ice in the matchup is, whether you're worried about just Tides and Diviners or whether it's as bad as a Saisenton. On 20 credits, again, Small Grump could have rezzed anything there.
Yeah,
Bola?
for sure. Saisenton, Athene, Empress. You have basically every single master face check in the game.
Oh man, and the fact that a Saisenton can give you 6 counters on Alco is just kind of disgusting.
Yeah, even if you don't die, you just let the opponent gain so much tempo.
Now these 2 cohorts, they're being unchallenged, and these actually are start of turn triggers, and you don't get into the weird checkpoint rule here, where you could use cohort 1 to discard a card, cohort 2 to discard a card, suddenly you have 2 counters on Alco, and then you can use Alco to draw 2 more cards. So again, Small Grump can draw 5 cards a turn here, as much as that they have to start trashing to push themselves forward with cohort.
Yeah, and I think there's an issue here where the deep dive for Sable is not really rich in normal amounts of cash, so even trashing a 2-cost cohort guidance program kind of feels bad here.
Is this full triple deep dive Sable? I'm assuming we've seen no influence.
I can pull up the list and actually go check.
Yeah, some of them are in 2, and they spend some influence on smoothing and card draw econ. But this so far looks like 3.
I'm just committing completely into that.
Yeah. And that double ice on R&D is going to help. Again, there's only so many tools with 3 Estabrados in the heap here, or excuse me, yeah, in the heap. That means Luthius is going to have to rely on more honest ways to interact with ice. And while Small Grump is going for the double ice with 0 points here, server 5, you're only worried, I think, that it's possibly, I think a Plutus would be the bad thing here. But Luthius is going to start her turn with a bit of that Blueberry Diesel and get some scrying and push forward. Just draw 2 cards, take that stone chip. Carpe Diem marks on HQ. You can face check, but if you don't want to deal with the Tattoo Bola, but the first breaker comes down to Kurapira, that will deal with the Samaxamuns and the Tattoo Bolas, and a Shibboleth with anti-threat technology will pay just a bit for the Diviners, and I'm not sure what other code gates we'd expect. My guess is
there are 2 copies of Athene, so
oh no.
Well, it's going to pay the big bucks here.
I was hoping for a fly swatter, yeah.
7 credits to break.
Yeah, it turns out it's not good. It's 7 credits, so you could just take some net damage, I reckon, but we're flipping.
Can you, if you want to keep your deep dives in hand?
Not really, yeah. It looks like this is an agenda on the table, unless it's a trap. But a cohort win for the flip here. 2 cohorts is really nasty because you can trash a card, flip a card. So this is going to be a sting. This is actually going to take cards out of hand. Table Stink for Flatline.
Oh, and just kills with FUT. That's
I mean, that'll
out of
do it.
nowhere.
So this does 1 damage plus 3 damage with 3 cards in hand. That's 4 damage. That was just on the table. Small Grump pushing it out. Still undefeated. Hand, mind you, was Bite, Fuji, and Anemones to boot as well. So that heist got really, really scary.
I don't think you're deep diving into that. You basically have to just snap the Fuji somewhere.
And I think that's what Luthieus was doing. She was going for the singles, right? Like just running archives, running R&D, not setting up the deep dive, saying just 1 single. But FUT, such a scary card there. Again, Sting will do 1 plus FUT, and FUT can do up to 3 damage with 2 power counters. So either you have to contest the FUT or contest the table. But regardless, Small Grump is going to remain undefeated, while Luthieus will be dropping down to the chase bracket. Let's jump into another game.
Yeah, I'm just asking table 3 if they're all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, table 3 is fine.
Fantastic. Okay, 2 great players. This is
kind of see a similar situation here, where the runner has stolen 4 points kind of earlier, but Corp seems to be stabilizing really well here.
So
like up on 21 credits already with build to last. That's kind of a lot.
This is like the same archives I think we see from Tron in most games. This is a BTL deck. It's a bit of a tempo deck. I don't think I've seen so far, and you might have the deck list in front of you, but whether this is on Measured Response or any Kill Fork. But this is on Idiosyncresis. I believe it's on Charlotte Casador. So it has, those advanceable cards that you can't tell whether they're agendas or not. I think the agenda suite has a lot of 5/3s, but it also has 3/2s. So I'm not sure where Tron lined up here. Mind you, Tron, a fantastic player. Just earlier this year, taking the first place in the Eternal Super League, a very creative deck builder. And so far this BTL, I wouldn't call it exactly creative, but it looks like a force to reckon with. But do you know who like classically just crushes BTL Glacier on turn 2? It's D. And so D's got to turn 6. Yeah.
We have seen that result in one big tournament already. Might see it in here also.
Yeah, D might be upset to get to turn 3 to see what this matchup looks like, but a phenomenal player playing the new identity. This is Magdalene Kano Chematai, and it looks like here I think D is going to be playing just some setup, not really incentivized in these Shaper decks to make those incidental runs. There's not a lot of payoff for the runs themselves, and then eventually you'll crack the Fermenter, you'll maybe get a couple more clicks, but you're going to be ending the game now that you're comfortably on 4 points with just one big deep dive. Toronto is clearly on the back foot.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't have those tools to actually stop the deep dives anymore.
No, you don't.
Like you used to have, like border controls or biovaults or anything. You just have to be scoring out honestly, basically, on the remote here.
Do you know who was a higher seed? Who picked this matchup?
I think, yeah, Deer is the higher seed here, so they're probably going into her quite comfortably.
Yeah. Card of the remote server, unadvanced card here. I think the worst case scenario usually is an Antil Excavation contract, which will give Tron a card and a credit. I believe Tron's deck is actually on Makoto Langit grids, which we saw to some great effect during some of the rounds yesterday. Well, D here is just setting up against Shaper Economy. It's mostly just Fermenter here, it feels like, and environmental testing, of which we haven't seen any. I'm glad to see this list is on Lilypad to push them forward, but the Breaker Suite Gauss, if you can flicker that, it actually does really good work on the deep dive turn. Getting that +3 strength for the remainder of the turn means you can deal with the log jams and the tree lines, and I don't know if we expect a Pharos or any other bigger barriers in the list.
Yeah, just one Pharos, otherwise it's basically tree lines.
Yeah.
In the list, so Gauss holding up decently well in there, and we get this 10 credit fermenters popping off. Does help a lot here on liquidity front.
Massive Fermenter replaced with the second copy. We have a Telework job. D's on 23 credits and not a big reason to run. I think now with 2 off the books in the score area, D doesn't have a big reason to run the remote server until Tehran does install Advance. One of the Wayland issues right now is that they just don't have a defensive upgrade that sees consistent play. So contesting the remote server comes down mostly to, can you break the ice? And on 23 with a Fermenter, a Unity, Gauss, all that will scale up better for that one specific run in the future. Tehran might be backed up against a wall here.
Yeah, but like we still are trying to finish the game with deep dive, which does have a real opportunity to just miss completely. So I'm not counting Torn out here.
Maggie getting that end of turn. Again, the Shaper, when you discard down to hand size at the end of your turn, you can install one of those cards as long as it's a hardware program. Tehran now on top of an upgrade, so it looks like that's not an Antil. BTL just advancing ice. We're expecting Messna Chesfo to be a bit annoying. That has that 3 credit loss. But otherwise, that log jam on the remote server, you break for only 3 credits with Propeller. So not a huge cost as much as it does tax out your recursion. I don't know if D's on Rising Tide. I think this deck's on just Propeller and Gauss as a way to get enough Fractor work throughout a whole game.
Yeah, just propeller gauss like nothing else in there. But those two probably solo a lot of lists by themselves, so you don't really need this
Yeah, I could see it.
late-term econ.
There's the gun. So the whole breaker suite is pulled together now. I do think BTL Glacier got a good killer, or a good sentry, excuse me, with Biowac. If you are playing that 2-1 green mail, that is a nice sentry. As much as it's not advanceable, it feels a lot better than having to play Colossus. Ron, just continuing again, we've gone through 25 cards. We've only seen 2 agendas, no spin doctors. It's hard to imagine Tron's not holding at least 1 agenda amongst 2 cards in hand here. We'll see if D feels like they need to run. D very disciplined. We saw this also in the Swiss rounds, I believe, where D just says, I'm on game point. I'm just going to wait. I can deep dive. I can wait for you to push. I don't have to do anything here. My Euro board game is incredibly efficient. That's how my deck was built.
Yeah, realistically looking at lists here, I think Toron just has idiosyncrasies of the advanceable threat on the remote.
Is there
On top
Charlotte?
of agendas. No, there's no Charlotte on
Oh,
here.
excuse me. Okay.
Everything is going into 3 idiosyncrasies and 3 messengers for the influence-wise. So DR can probably just wait here.
Yep.
Install, like every time Toron just goes install advance on the remote, you just run then, and it's really hard for Toron to actually tax that out.
Third fermenter, we're just keeping them going. We also got down a Hannah for that deep dive turn, so if D does find 2 2-pointers, they can close the game out, but this is looking hard. Idiosyncresis shuffled back in. That was a spin doctor, so that was a spin doctor not used to control agendas, so there has to be multiple agendas in hand. We'll see now. Tehran is going to go Makoto Grid. Resum Regolith. This is the most credits I've seen on a table in all of Elevation so far.
Yeah, typically this takes kind of force interaction earlier.
Yeah, this one does not.
Just trying to tax you out, like, which probably can work into a lot of decks, but not into a shaper with 3 fermenters that have tick through amount of telework contracts, everything.
I want to see how D got the first points. Did D just run R&D? The classic? Like, where did these points come from? Hard to tell. Coupulation now coming down, so we can see all of HQ if we make 2 runs there. Now, Tehran's 27 credits. It won't evaporate too quickly. The average res cost of an ice in this deck is probably around 3 to 4, so we can probably res most of our ice and still have some liquidity going forward. But here, the Regolith, just giving yourself, again, 9 credits. Wow, no KPI, just hard installing for 3 credits to get that. I would not call this a Shaper U anymore. It looks a bit different, I reckon.
Yeah, it's interesting to see there's probably agendas kind of piling up into HQ.
Yeah.
While we have not been able to secure a real scoring remote.
D, 6 cards left in the stack. I'm not able to count the influence fast enough whether to know that D can just like play an Ashen and do this whole game again. But on 47 credits here with a Fermenter, the Simulchips can bring them back. Coalescence can be spec worked away. I do think D might have to manage the cards here, but I'm pretty sure now they have 2 deep dives in hand. Harmony AR Therapy. If their deck is this greedy, this feels kind of honestly pretty good here. I'm assuming this deck is not on Ashen.
Long-term econ back in there. No, not Ashen with the Harmony AR Therapy. Probably being the card to keep you in there long-term.
Yeah, this is your budget Ashen. 5 pieces to go back. They have to be 5 different cards by title, as you dream of nice dogs on the beach. So I'm imagining
having to pay influence for Ashen.
Yeah. So what does D shuffle back in? It looks like a Fermenter, Overclock, Pinel Threading, a Simulchip, and a Telework. So all very high value cards. Pinel's important just to check what's in server 1 so you don't have to waste your time running, again, with that open archives. I don't think there's any defensive upgrades that you have to deal with, but D just setting up, discarding DZ, MZ, and Azimut, and I don't think Magdalene installed either of those. We don't need those cards.
Yeah, both probably going to end up being credit negative in the end.
Yeah, probably. Tron emptying the Regolith now has the remote server, but the remote server is probably one of the easier servers here to run. Heaven forbid D hushes the logjam. I don't actually think that's a really big deal. It just saves you 3 strength, which Propeller is just 2 counters. For Gauss, it's only no credits if you Simulchip it back in. We're drawing in with the Dr. Nuka. Again, 3 clicks. Fermenter is 8 more credits. Some of the best breakers in the game as well, but yeah, it feels like setup Shaper like this, if you're not pushing problems forward, this is the monster you'll find on the other side of the table.
Yeah, and we just keep recurring these fermenters, just basically dripping 2 credits a turn here.
I like this disciplined fermenter play where you just take the money and keep pushing forward. You don't have to be greedy and you don't have to like lose all your value if Tron takes a turn off purging. I think if Tron's purges is not the worst for you. Here, discarding an echelon and an overclock. Looks like the echelon's going to hit the table. 5 strength means be a whack. You still have to boost once, but I don't think you're going to be sweating those credits when D's on 53. Tree line, triple advancing the Archives Ice. That might be a Pharaohs. And now a card and Silver 1 here. Again.
Just to stop deep dive attempts, I would assume.
Yeah, just got to make it difficult. The thing is, like, D, it probably runs Archives first, cups a card from Archives, maybe from R&D probably, and then sends HQ, and probably wins on the deep dive turn before the deep dive goes off. Here, we're just clicking for credits. Telework, it's an anthill. Toronto only has 18 cards left in the deck. We've only seen 2 agendas. The hand has to be hella flooded.
Yeah, for sure. Realistically, I think DR just doesn't have to do anything. It just can sit back, basically just let Toron lose the game here.
Yeah, this is not a clearinghouse deck, I don't think. So it's not like Toronto can put something in the remote server and just force runs over and over again. If it's worst case, you know, if it is the idiosyncrasis, it's not that. D, going for it. Whether this is impatience or whether saying this is a good time to strike, I can see 3 of 4 cards in HQ. Outermost is a tree line. Simul chips on the table. You're going to see that Gauss flicker to set up that great turn here. This thing has +3 strength. So you do break this for still 3 credits, but this will hold its additional strength for the rest of the turn, which is incredibly valuable if you want to threaten a deep dive. Here's the Messney. Lose 3. Unity breaks that for 3 as well. So that's 6 credits. Your overclock has done enough. Single access on R&D. A Shylendra. So not the most important ice. You do have to break it so you don't take the net damage. And overclock now the second copy on HQ. Let's see how much of this ice we can res. We're expecting Afshires. We're expecting Winchesters. I do not know what the most annoying thing is. There's the first Winchester. Either you can Echelon for 3 or you can Revolver for 2 and some bullets. Still on 50 credits. We're going to...
It looks like we take the Revolver line here. And a second Winchester. Your Revolver still has bullets for this.
Yeah, line them up, shoot them down. We'll keep going. All the subroutines are relevant. You don't want to lose the Lily Pad. There's the Shylendra. I do think, unfortunately, unless you have double deep dive, you probably want to break this. You probably still want to keep the double deep dive, just so if the front deep dive whiffs, you can like hand the second deep dive.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 4 to break, so like the cheapest Shylendra break I have ever seen.
There's no way this doesn't win. Idiosyncrasis, we're throwing the cup. Spin Doctor, what? And where are the agendas?
Oh,
where are the agendas? This must be the wildest deep dive here.
Yeah, I mean, we might see like 7 points of deep dive material here.
There's the big Pharaohs. I don't know the Gauss numbers. You have to boost a couple times. So you have to boost for 6, break for 2, 3 if you want. We have the money, it turns out. And let's see if we'll use the Hannah here. Again, if you want to gain the click, we're probably not going to use on the remote server. We have double clicks, double deep dives. First deep dive only sees 3 points. Yeah, I mean, that's enough. What a wild game.
So that's like a lot of points in R&D.
Yeah, what's R&D? Wait, where are the points? There's 9. Oh, because 7 cards are set aside. I mean, yeah, the bottom R&D is all agendas. It's like literally all agendas. Basically. What happened? Yeah, D had a second deep dive. So after this deep dive, if it does whiff, you shuffle and go back. But well played to both players. Definitely, yeah, setup shaper is a scary thing if you don't have threats they have to deal with going forward, which the Elko decks do. We'll see decks that can force interaction. But yeah, there's going to be an uphill fight a bit here for Tron. But neither of these players are out. Both fantastic players. Excited to see them play on. One more game. Aksu, who you feeling? We got 2 tables.
Yeah, just trying to figure out. There's a judge call on one of the tables.
Oh, thank you. It looks like table 4 wrapped. I think it's only table 2 that's
probably, yeah, then we can jump in there.
Perfect. All right. Welcome again, round 1 of Double Elimination Top Cut. We are Mouse Motor playing Leo Construction. Mind you, Leo is the most popular HB and it did not convert relatively well. This one has a Microweb on HQ. Alice paid that 8 credits for this. A really interesting card here to get some of your good subber teams to fire. The remote server, I would call it a bit of a clown card. I don't think this Hoshiko's playing a shred, but we have Isaac, we have Vova, we have the Trank, and Alice is on game point here. Noise Cream College? Like,
yeah. An interesting list here. Isaac Libertad adding so much more text on everything.
Yeah. But these fixed strength breakers, it really does hurt. As much as you do have 8 leech counters, and maybe you're running into, I'm assuming, more likely to find a fly swatter than a Mavirus.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most leech counters I've ever seen. Sadly, we don't have the cleaver anymore to actually utilize those for the fracture part.
1 strength rising tide with 10 cards left in the stack. I don't know how I'm meant to be excited about bad corroder, but it is technically the best fracture you have in Anarch, and it feels bad.
I know, it hurts. It hurts bad.
No, otherwise the Breaker Suite's good. The twinning is empty, and we have no way to charge it besides this Mystic, which it looks like the credit it was used last turn, so probably we got a Mystic run, or a twinning run last turn, and it looks like it did whiff. If we look here at the heap, nothing too flashy in terms of Ice Cream College's list. Fundamentals, good stuff, Anarch. We do have an Ashen Epilogue, whether we want to bring that back with Buffer Drive. I'm assuming Alice can actually win the game before that comes in. All right, we're just sorting out how Isaac works here. Again, it says, when your turn ends, you move this to another server. Notably, Mersh is another moving Biroid upgrade, which we have none in the archives, and she works a bit different, which is pretty wild.
I love that the 2 cards work different, bit different.
Yeah. I was surprised that,
yeah.
Mersha, you have to put the ice and she follows. Isaac just goes for a walk.
Yeah, there's also Poloman, which works at start of turn.
Yeah,
which
I like that one. That was a good jump scare.
Yeah.
The Holloman jump scare is really fun.
I just kind of hope that we can avoid the game losses by people misremembering how the triggers work. But
yeah, I have Adrian for that as well, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah, luckily Holloman popular enough card that people remember probably how it works every time.
All right, we're rescoring this ADT, and Isaac is going to move here. Okay, so the Architect deployment test. I'm not sure what we got with it. Oh, it got the Isaac, excuse me. So Isaac came off the top of the deck, and then it slid over. Okay. So Alice is going to install the Isaac on HQ, slide the Isaac over to server 4, and advance Isaac to the Brawn, which is an 8 strength Brawn. And Leo Construction, you can't really click through the Brawn, because then functionally you don't have a turn. And when you don't have a turn, especially when you're on game point, this is the scary part. When you're this far behind on points at Leo, they can just start throwing Biroids at you and not really care, because the game will be over in 2 turns if they just have a good remote server.
Yeah, the last score, if we have some defensive upgrades that like Managram even, it starts to get kind of impossible to get into the remote actually.
Very, very hard, yeah. I don't know whether we would have seen by now a Mersha res for value. There's a just big chance there's a Managarm, even Anoetic sometimes. As much as the Isaac list, it's actually maybe more likely a Holloman. Install Advance.
Oh, yeah, install Advance.
That card was in the server last turn?
I think so too.
Okay. It's a bit hard on JNet to parse that. Yeah, that has to be an agenda, right?
Yeah, but like we scored the Architect deployment test from there.
Yeah, we maybe missed how it worked. Maybe that was a double install off the Isaac turn. I can't tell, but yeah, interesting. There's no defensible or advanceable upgrades currently in standard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. There's the Ambient Grid.
Oh yeah, Vlad Grid. Excuse me. Yeah, there is one.
But yeah, there's the Tranquility already in the table, so
yeah,
cannot be that one.
So Ice Cream has to run this. This looks like game point. The single advance might be a way to play around Pinhole into Holloman that also could be in the server. Now, running this remote server again, all the stuff in the remote server will be rezzed for free, largely with Vovo. But it's a Light the Fire!
Light the Fire!
Oh, wait!
Oh my, that's so thick!
Now, Leo can still stop it, but that's still kind of good.
The one ID that actually kills this out front.
Take that shred, Light the Fire is pretty sick here. Now the core damage also hit the Rising Tide, which is kind of important into the Bran run back, but this actually turns off the strength booth on Isaac. So this is just a 6 strength Brawn. Outermost is an MIC. Now with only 2 clicks left, I'm not sure if you're going to get in here because we can just throw the Isaac at you and you still have to come back, but you probably will throw a Mersha if it's in there. You still have the MIC click loss, a Bladed Barrier you'll break for 1. MIC was broken for Leech and 2. This Brawn too, I guess we just dump the Leech counters.
Yeah, we have a lot of credits, but...
So down to 2 strength. Again, that Rising Tide core damage was actually perfect.
This is also the last one of these. And if you have to
Alice,
bend the... you probably can use the Isaac, right? Because it doesn't blank the Subrut subtypes here.
So cards lose abilities, but they don't lose traits, right? So Mersha is still a Byroid.
Yeah, so you still keep the subtypes, so you can spend these upgrades in here.
So this is a Mersha, so Alice can just simply end the run here and say, Ice Cream, you can run back if you want to. But Vovo has no effect, so you have to pay full cost. Wait, Alice is bankrupt now. She can't score out. This is sick. So that MIC was res at full cost, and the Mersha was res at full cost. So that actually kept Alice off scoring.
So Ice Cream College gets one more turn here, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if it was better to not res the MIC and just throw for the run back to save credits. That's actually a really interesting turn that I think you'd have to think out for a while, because now you're not threatening, and Ice Cream has an entire turn to build twinning run centrals. Now, this remote server is still pretty good, but the leech counters are gone. So whether you want to just like run archives, I don't know what server you can cheaply run. Microweb is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, like running centrals kind of works when you have the leech counters.
Yeah. Leech on Archives is
Microweb and break it for 2.
Yeah, like Legion Archives is a minimum, like kind of a magnum opus with Rising Tide. And again, this is an 3 strength ablative, an 8 strength brawn, unless you run a second Light the Fire, which I'd be incredibly surprised.
Yeah, definitely feels like a thing we probably don't have here in the list.
Yeah. Ice Cream's thinking, again, twinning. Notably, actually, no, you could buffer drive back the Light the Fire. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's just... You have a 1 turn more here.
Yeah, you definitely have another turn here. I wonder if you have to buffer drive it back. Hoshiko also, like, running Archives here is pretty good for Hoshiko. There's the run. So this is 2 leech counters and a Hoshiko flip. So here, before you draw with Hoshiko, you can always buffer drive at instant speed to put the Light the Fire back. Where is the Light the Fire? It doesn't remove from game. I can't find it. Did it delete itself?
Yeah.
JNet, where did the Light the Fire go? Did it light itself on fire? The heck?
Yeah, it's just...
Oh, it bottomed it with buffer drive.
Oh!
Wait, what? No, but that's Gripper Stack. No, it can't be Cobalt. Because that's only, Gripper Stack. Where's the Light the Fire? Banhar now on server 4. Alice just clicking for 3 credits, nothing to install in the Tranquility. So the window here for Hoshiko's already drawn, so Ice Cream has lost the free buffer drive draw.
Oh, we have one Light the Fire that got hit by the core damage on buffer using the Light the Fire, which got buffer drive back in.
No, I think the core damage on Light the Fire... Well, there it is.
No, like...
We're running it again.
Yeah, for sure we used buffer drive to put Light the Fire back into the deck here.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening. Okay, we're running this. Now, Alice can still just end the run, so College still needs to run back. MIC, we can take the damage if we want to off of Banhar.
And we still can use MIC here, so probably does mean that we are not getting in here.
Yes, this you can MIC into Brawn, and then Ice Cream College's game is over. You have all the ability here. MIC you can throw, Brian you can throw, Isaac you can throw. Again, Leo is only once per turn, but not using the MIC, which means you still can't run back, so there's no reason to fire the MIC here. But the only difference is now Ice Cream can run Centrals. Alice is on...
Still get 3 access on R&D here.
I think you have to run R&D. Unless you think HQ is flooded, which... I think R&D might have a higher shot here. 3 spins are out. Again, 20, you can only use 2 counters, but when you run R&D or HQ, you now can see 3 cards. College is doing the math again. Running back here doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The MIC click will end the run. You don't have a click to lose. So this has to be Centrals. Microweb math?
Yeah, I feel like it's R&D and Hope.
Yeah, R&D and Hope sounds right. Here we're going.
Looks like we have decided that this line.
A regular 6 strength Brawn. So we'll break that with Leech and Rising Tide. So that's going to cost 6 credits. 5 left to break whatever this ice is. But if Alice reses this, she doesn't have a lot to spend to score out. Gonna hold. See 2 cards, 3 cards.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Full whiff. Alice, gonna go for that quad advance, take you to those 7 points, score the off-world office. Good game to both players. I'm a big LEO fan. It's one of my favorite ideas. It's good to see it do its thing. And this sort of like breaker suite, the whole Isaac interaction works really well against these fixed strength breakers. I don't think I was too hot on Isaac, but that is a matchup where you're very, very happy to be playing that buy ride.
Yeah, for sure. Like Leo being like Light the Fire kind of cooked everything like PD kind of deck right now.
Yeah.
Except Leo specifically, which
Yep.
is really interesting and fun to see.
Yeah, the Leo text being on your identity versus being on your assets or upgrades is massive. As much as like board control back in the day, you could get around that.
Yeah,
Wow.
board control's the influence and kind of a bad ice by itself. So
Kind of, yeah. So this last result here, that was Tron versus D. We got to see the end of that game. So we technically do have all our reporting in. So if I'm not mistaken, the players on the left are for the higher seed. So you're generally expecting them to win more games. Wait, is that true? Who was the higher seed between Tron and D?
I think it's just like
Is
put
it
corpse
random?
on the left side.
Oh,
kind of
yeah. 100%. It's just corpse on left. Okay. So would you be able to tell me who the higher seed is in each matchup so we can see if the higher seed choice was correct?
Yeah, I think I
So
can.
Small Grump was the higher
Yeah,
seed versus Luthien, and they called that correctly. Alice versus Ice Cream College. Do you know who was in the driving
I
seat?
believe was the higher seed.
Okay, so that did not work out for them. D versus Tron.
Deer.
D was the higher seed. That worked out for them.
Yep.
White Blade into Why Not?
Why not? Why not? I believe was the higher seed.
I believe so. So unfortunately, the call did not land. Cobalt versus Davs. Seb into Ob is always an interesting matchup, depending on the Ob.
Yeah, these start to be the ones where I don't remember at all.
Yeah, the middle of the
I
pack.
remember Davs might have been the top seed, and I believe Not Yeti also. So both of those matches going on the winner
Okay.
or higher seed, I believe.
Okay. And then we have Caboose versus Nightjar and Auko taking it. So Auko won some of its matches, nearly all. And then Mult versus Motion Blur. That was another beat to last. I'm not sure what Motion Blur is playing, whether it's full Glacier into a Moosely Hot. And Moosely Hot took it, which is actually an interesting matchup. BTL into run-based criminal can be a bit tricky, but Mult figured out the lines for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the matchup turns out to be way more better for you.
Yeah.
When you can have stuff like double chest with just churning credits for you, and the amount of like stuff that actually ends just hard and ends the run is way less in the build to last list.
Yeah, it's also good, right? Like your runs are expensive, so why not make them good runs with your run events? So that's a nice spot to be in. All right, so half of our players now are on the chase bracket, which means we're going to be losing 4 players this round, if I'm not mistaken. So there's the upper bracket and there's the lower bracket. So again, if you're in the lower bracket, that means you have lost a game already today. And if you lose your second game, unfortunately, you can be out as soon as 2 games in. That's just how double elimination works. I think these players have a lot to be proud of, for sure. It was a massive tournament yesterday, starting at 149 players, and they've already really played a lot of Netrunner yesterday. And so today,
yeah, definitely.
There's going to be some more.
Having conversations with people, it's definitely where like that achievement is getting into the top cut, and then you get to chill and just play good as Netrunner with people in the top cut often.
So I reckon we want to watch something on the lower bracket. There's some pretty interesting matchups here. Table 14 is a team kill, as they call it. So 2 teammates from the same testing team. That's always a bummer. Same with underneath that. Davs versus Not Yeti is also unfortunate. With those 2 players are definitely looking to avoid each other until the finals, I imagine. So that's a bit unfortunate. I imagine we probably want to see a player that has a chance that it might be their last time on stream. Do you want to pick a table?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to if Aesop's tables would work with me here.
Oh no, okay. You maybe can watch on the stream a bit. There's a bit of a delay, but I have the Summer Showdown up.
Cut round 2.
Yeah.
I think.
It's like
I feel like Davs were Not Yeti probably could be a cool match. I'm not
I
sure.
think they're upper bracket though.
Oh yeah, that's upper bracket.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Aesop doesn't really show it.
Yeah, I wish they did. Yeah, that's upper bracket.
Versus Cobalt could be cool.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, we get to see a bit more Auko and Toshiko.
Awesome.
But I don't think there's avoiding those this tournament here.
Yeah, if people are like, oh, I've seen so much Oko, it's like, well, there's a lot of Oko in the top cut. It's kind of hard to not. Diogenes Cobalt. Okay, let me try and find that, and we'll jump in just a second. If you're tuning in,
table not yet online, but we can just wait for a second.
Perfect. Yeah, huge shout out again. If you're tuning in, welcome. This is the Summer Showdown Top Cut. This is, again, double elimination. We're 1 round in. Hopefully you've watched. Again, there's like a 10-hour stream of great gameplay yesterday with some nice people joining on the microphone. That's on Aksu_Netrunner, I believe is your handle on YouTube. I'll have that link in the description.
I think so, but you definitely can find it just by posting Aksu and Netrunner.
Yeah. Otherwise today, again, the rest of the Summer Showdown will be on another channel, if I'm not mistaken. We're only going to be streaming a couple rounds here this morning on the Metropole Grid, and then we'll have you the link. I believe CTZ should be covering the rest of it, or maybe Aksu you will. I'm not 100% sure, but we're only going to be here for a couple rounds. So if you're watching the VOD later, look into the description, and I'll have a link so you can follow on for the rest of the exciting tournament. And I have no doubt you're going to want to watch the rest of this. Okay. Let's see if the table's up. I can't find it.
It's not yet.
Someone's saying, I'm sure you're aware, but Diogenes is a different person than Diogen. Yes, I do want to say that. Diogen is a local player who you probably know for a pretty prolific deck poster. That is Diogen with a capital D and no S. This is Diogenes, plural. This is a different player that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. But for those who are rooting for the High from Montreal, unfortunately, it's just a different person. Actually, would you play Hoshiko yesterday?
Would I have played?
Yeah.
I mean, I was on big doomer mode before the tournament.
Sure.
So no, I would have been playing probably Militia T.
Okay.
Just complete reg. But after seeing these results, I might be back on the horse. Who knows?
Yeah.
And I think we got the okay from the table.
Huge, thank you.
Yeah,
what's your hit percentage in Muesli Hot to feel
like
comfortable?
5. I don't feel comfortable with the idea, but that's the one I've been playing. And yeah, I have the atrocious hit rate on it. I'm not built like you on the stream where you just hit every time.
That's you build it. You build it a certain way. It just keeps hitting. All right, welcome to round 2. This is the chase bracket. So both these players, unfortunately, took their first loss in round 1, if I'm not mistaken. So this could be their final game on stream today for a fantastic weekend. They have done a lot of great Netrunner today. On the bottom, that's Aoko, the gold standard. This is the most popular corporation going into this tournament. I don't think that was a surprise, but that also was expected. So a lot of runners had the ability to tech their decks to beat the Aoko deck. How do you beat the Aoko deck? Having credits to trash things. We see Azimuts, we see Baya Bands, we see Fencer Fuenos even. Those are nice ways to trash cards and keep your credits going. On top of that, Hannah could be nice, and being able to deal with cheap early ice. So you can get the FUT down, you can get the cohort down, you can get down the early Bladderwort. That's going to be really important for Hoshiko. Now, click and press card draw is really good because Oko cares about those cards. There's going to be damage forks. So we'll see here Diogen with that. That's a Spirit Island art, if I'm not mistaken. Going to start here. Is this a mulligan? Ice up HQ? Going to take the mulligan and play a Hansei review, discarding a card and not building board state here. So not the obvious Aoko opening that you expect.
Yeah. Definitely HQ probably has some agendas there then.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Take a mulligan into 2 agendas, you kind of just have to defend HQ.
They're going for the tempo buy bands again. Archives. We're going to flip a card. It's a Fencer Fueno throwing out a second Hansei. So the Fencer Fueno, you lose a bit of that click compression for the Baya because you do lose the cost reduction, but it is, again, wow, compression. And there's clean getaway at R&D.
Yeah, you definitely just want the fish down to be able to get your credits. Oh, dang it, running into a bite.
We'll need those Hansei credits really quickly. That bite is going to be sold. Hitting a steel skin and the second clean getaway. So that's already in the bin. We're on what? 2, 4, 6 influence on turn 1. Cobalt just going to clear the tag, take no risks. Again, this is open deck lists. Apologies, I don't have the deck list open, but you can find them on Always Be Running, or yeah, on Aesop's tables, excuse me.
Tables, yep.
And that does give it Oko a counter. Did we get the second counter at Aoko?
From the bite, I believe.
Doesn't that just give 1 counter?
Yeah.
Oh, Hansei got the second one.
Hansei and second from bite.
Huge. So that's going to be a petty cash in the bin. We played that from hand. An ice on R&D. Can you take a look at Diogen's deck? This is not an Oko deck. This is
I was just going to pull it up.
This is a play pattern.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised about. Gachapon down into Fermenter. I don't know whether Cobalt's playing Bling, but Gachapon can get you those companions, those virtual cards relatively quickly to set up. Twinning is also quite nice off of this. Get a bit of that click compression. Go find your breakers. You have to be worried that this does take cards out of your deck. And if you're going to be ground down, and we're on 33 cards, maybe you have to Ashen back in. But Daojen's just playing kind of what looks like Jinteki Glacier at this point. Third Hansei.
Yeah, definitely it's not Jinteki Glacier looking at the list. We do see all the assets we are expecting.
For real.
Stuff like cohort guidance program.
How many assets? Like 20 assets?
2, 5, about 14. So it's definitely less.
Okay, a
asset
bit
heavy than
less.
much as we have seen. So probably just going to build a couple of ice stream modes instead of like going completely wide here. I guess technically asset deck is opposed to like an asset spam deck, you could say.
We cracked the Gachapon. Got to see some cards in there. There's an Eye for an Eye and a Leech that have been removed from the game. Keiko being the console, twinning, and also a Finality, which can be both frightening on both sides of the table. But just to talk it down, now this is a companion that can be a bit tricky. If you don't have breakers, she does just show herself out in 2 turns when the tag becomes not something you want to pursue. But we're checking archives here with a healthy 7-card grip, so this will flip some cards up. Not that we have a Genesis threat, but that's going to be, wow, well, 3 damage. I don't think you mind there with 7 in hand. Losing a Buzzsaw on a clean getaway, so the full playset of pseudo dirty laundries. But now on game point, Cobalt doesn't have to respect Fuji anymore. This seems really good for the runner.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the start where the corp was kind of flooded early.
Yeah.
And had to go and defend HQ. Feels like we clicked mulligan exactly when we shouldn't have.
Yo, I talked about Trickster Taka. She's already showed herself out. Fencer Fueno now taking real credits, but Taka went from 0 to 60 so fast. Got to see 1 turn of table play.
We just have to keep this Fencer around. I'm not sure if this is a situation where Fencer is going to be basically credit negative during the game.
Yeah, so far it has been. You lost a credit on the Baya, kind of, but you've now spent 1 credit. So we'll see where the Narwhal goes. Server 2 kind of looking more like a Spin Doctor. My guess is into the Fencer Fueno open. We'll see if Cobalt interacts. Again, Hoshiko's been flipped, I think, for most every turn. Maybe we just flipped last turn. Got the Tide.
I believe we were flipped last turn.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Tide online. Definitely the breaker we were expecting here.
3 credits, Fencer Fueno asking for another $1, and Cobalt will pay it. Cohort Uniced is pretty wild. That's a very valuable card here. So this can give you that second Oko counter if we haven't got it yet, if you want to trash a card to push yourself forward. And server 1 could be any of the cards that, you know, fix archives, Spin Doctor, even a Moon Pool. But we'll see if we start pushing a remote server. Cobalt is working on the breakers, and Gadgetpon can always be the second copy. When do you stop paying for Fueno? I feel like you could never stop paying for Fueno. Once you started paying for it, you have to.
Like, it feels like you just have to keep it paid off. Like, just rationalize yourself to like, you will pay off this someday. And apparently this is the day. I think next time we probably are going to just run the remote, use these fish credits into something good, and keep it on the table for a couple of turns more.
Yeah, you take this terrible loan on an expensive car and you're like, well, I paid for it. I got to keep paying for it, I guess. This Gachapon's grabbing the Paladin, the Otter. We're going to remove a Rising Tide from the game. So Rising Tide is not going to be boosting its brethren on the table. Second Gachapon also goes with that. So we're shuffling back in pinholes, which are nice. The Keiko should show up sooner than later, and Keiko Fueno is a really nice engine if you want to deal with cards on the table. Now, Daojen's did ice up the cohort. Server 1, we're not sure what it is. If it was probably a FUT, I reckon you would pre-res it. But we're going to start checking cards on the table. And we know there's bites in this list, so these could bite back.
Yeah, deciding to roll for it. Guaranteed makes you access worse cards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. The roll 6, yeah. Spin Doctor going to shuffle
just taking Spin Doctor?
2 Unseens, assuming agendas. Maybe there's a Regenesis setup, and that cohort is finally going down for Fencer Fueno credits. So she's still in the part where you have to keep paying to keep that sword sharp. But we did make a bit of money back. Cobalt drawing up, ending with that leech counter. Hoshiko will get the flip. We have touched a card, so that is a pretty good click impression here. Now with cohort, you can flip a card up and score a 4-2 if that's your game plan, but I'm not sure what this card is, whether it's setting up as a Moon Pool, whether it's a setup of maybe a Regenesis. I don't have a good read on this.
Definitely have Moon Pool in the list. I'm not sure about Regenesis. It looks like we have triple Regenesis into Fuji, probably trying to be our score outline. And I think we were trying to set it up earlier with the Fuji installed. So server 1 might be just a Moon Pool already.
Yeah. Your digital life, an interesting include in Alco. Again, you do get this extra card draw. You start your turn with mandatory, with cohort, all this sort of stuff. So that was a 5 credit, your digital life. 2 more cards on the table here. Again, that Fencer Fueno, this just seems like you're taking clicks away from the runner, as much as Hoshiko sometimes does end up in that sort of, again, negative loop. But we're checking archives as the start, challenging the spin doctors on the table, but it's just a Samaxamuna and Tatubola, so some barriers getting thrown out. Oh, it's an Odori dance party. The sentries here, if we find our third virtual, we're breaking them relatively cheaply. 2 to break basically every sentry in the game.
Yeah, basically, I feel like the list Cobalt is playing is like just trying to build this companion tribal.
Yeah.
Where you install every single companion on the table and keep Odore as like a decent breaker in the end.
Double cohort. These work really well together. One can trash, one can flip, so you can never advance 4 2s or 3 2s and have a click left. But it looks like the cards on the table aren't getting advanced themselves. Just Oko firing. We're down to 19 cards in R&D. As much as this is, what is this, turn 7? The agenda's got to be somewhere. We got a spin doctor out already.
Yeah, the classic Oko almost through the deck completely at this point already.
Yeah.
And the question here just is how to actually get those agendas into the score area. Probably going to be some sort of a moon pool trick, but hasn't been able to set it up yet here.
3 more servers. Fencer Fueno still asking for money. There's the Mystic. Adori is powered up fully. Now the twinning, we did see 1 shuffled back, but we're starting with this cohort. That will be 2 off of Fencer Fueno. Now 7, 8, and 9 with a healthy cards in hand. I don't think there's too much you're worried about the burst. Things get tricky once there's a FUD, but we're just going to play a sure gamble and not check the table here. Daoshans has some options, but hasn't been pushing forward. It's like the game seems sleepy until suddenly it's Fuji Regenesis and the corp is on game point. Like that's what just happens here. And there's 3 face down cards in archives and cohorts, so it's not too hard to get the setup.
I believe we probably are going to trying to set up for it. If we have a moon pool Regenesis on the table, you can start doing this stuff like kind of out of nowhere.
Install double?
Install advanced moon pool.
There's the moon pool. Now, if the moon pool discards cards, you can't Regenesis, but there's already face down cards in archives here. So we're going to reveal a Sericulture from archives and shuffle. That wasn't discarded. So a FUD is going to be res. That could have been on the table for a while. This is going to be a Regenesis for 4 points and a net damage. That's the play.
That's definitely like the switch up we were expecting here.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this FUD didn't get rezzed earlier, just to put more pressure on. But Cobalt's now going for Centrals. We're on game point. That last Fuji is so important for both players here. Running R&D, we have an Empiricist. Unfortunately, that's going to be broken for only 2 credits with Adore.
2 credits?
I think so. Don't you
have to boost strength? It's 6 to break when you have to boost.
Oh my god, yeah, you boost, you break for free. Okay, it's 6, that's a lot. That seemed good.
For a second you thought Odora was good, actually.
Sting going in for 1 damage, plus we'll see if FUT has more damage. They're separate instances, so Oko gets more counters. But now any of the Sericultures, 1 was shuffled back in R&D, is game point for Cobalt here, 5 to 4. The table still has cards that haven't been moved yet. We ought to make sure we're watching the Steelskin Scarrings. Only 1 played so far, so I don't know if we're going to see any sort of like Reaper function kills, but when Daojin was on 27 credits, I think last couple turns ago, I don't think we're worried about Bladderworts anymore.
Yeah, probably not. We still have enough cards in hand, so the grinder aspect will not become a thing, I would assume.
Yeah. Fencer, Paladin, Mystic, all asking something from the runner here before the Keiko comes down as well. You're losing that credit per turn. Buys the start for Mystic, it's free. We're checking archives here, so not getting the credits to trash.
We actually get to use fish credits here instead of Paladin credits.
Oh yeah, too. Very cool. So the Keiko comes down.
Still staying above the limit on Fencer's bank allowance. But...
Yeah. She demands more money. Cobalt's paying that money as well, the allowance going through. Now, we have the full companion suite. Wait, we're missing the Taka. She did leave. Spin Doctor and Server 5 to start here. Now, this FUT, whether you have some fast events with the Sericultures, you can start doing a bit of damage. Now, cards in hand will matter, but the problem is that last Fuji, the last Sericulture, doesn't have relevant text. So see, again, 8 and 9 have been sitting on the table for a while. Oko's down to 11 cards, and we've only seen 9 points so far. It looks like there's 11 points between 11 cards in R&D and 9 cards in HQ. The density is getting pretty high here.
Yeah, there probably is some agendas in archives already also.
Yeah,
those might be just blowing the runner up if we see like a moon pool line here.
Yeah, really importantly, with Regenesis, the text on Regenesis says cards can be added to archives this turn, so it's not like you can set it up with Alco or you can set it up with Cohort. Measured response for tempo, just taking 4 cards out of the hand. Now that isn't a terminal, which means that if you had any sort of like Moonpool fast events combo, that actually would have been lethal. Oh, just kidding. There's 2 steel skins. Never mind.
We have double steel skins in hand, so not threatened out yet.
And this
but
deck,
we did lose nothing important really, which is at least a sigh of relief here.
The tempo measure did not take a lot of cards out of hand. No, it didn't. But that tempo measure is really scary. This deck is on Sericulture, not Blood in the Water. And so like even sometimes just doing, you know, tempo measured into FUT Blood in the Water can be lethal. But now Kobold on 5 with Hoshiko. Pinel to start, probably going to deal with the FUT for free with the Fencer Flano. This, I don't know if this actually taxes out Spin Doctor. You could always zig when the opponent thinks you're going to zag and just charge the Spin Doctor down. We'll see if Diogenes respects that. No respect. FUT is dismantled.
No, yeah. Would have been like it always feels bad to do it when there's no agendas in archives. But I feel like this was one of the times where it could have definitely been an option.
It could have been right, yeah. I think you're really worried about the last sting when FUT gets out of control. But yeah, now with the Moonpool, I guess you're not too worried about the Spin Doctor because you had another option to fix archives.
Yeah, getting Moonpool from the table. Sometimes correct maybe to pop those out beforehand, but not here.
Fencer down to no credits. Cobalt has paid heavily for that. Yeah, that subscription fee is being shouted out in chat, but at least she got all her money back. Now we're checking archives, see if that flushes out the Spin Doctor. Again, only 9 cards in R&D. We only see less than, well, slightly more than half the agendas. We'll see if the measured response goes back in. I'd be really fascinated if that's a card you can afford to recur here. Looks like 2 Unseens instead.
Yeah, I feel like we have to put agendas back in the deck somehow.
Yeah.
And we might be threatening out a
second Spin Doctor.
Oh, second Spin Doctor.
We'll see if this is face downs. It was a Moonpool and an Unseen, so we have a bit more recursion, showing a Scatterfield there. A 2 influence Code Gate, which we don't have a Code Gate breaker just yet. A Kobold with 4 cards in hand, again, a single Sericulture, a single Fuji. She'll take the game and continue on in the lower bracket, but Diogenes here doesn't have to set up. And Cobalt is respecting that running archives to make sure you can't do the Regenesis as much as I think these cards have been on their table for a moment now.
Yeah, we already saw 1 Moonpool gone, so kind of can be maybe safe. Expecting that 1 didn't sneak on the table.
Yeah.
And that's realistically the only line to score out of Fuji. Or Regenesis like raw out of archives. Otherwise, everything face up on archives keeps you kind of safe here.
Yeah, I would need to see the deck list to read exactly what these cards on the table are, but they haven't moved in a while. It could be second FUTs. Oko's still milling through the deck. I want to shout out that Paladin just trashed Keiko, which is just, you hate to see violence like that.
Companion and companion wild.
Yeah. Draw 2, trash 1. This cohort as well. Going to play a petty cash clicklessly from the bin. So still on a healthy 15 credits. A measured response. We have cards in hand here. So I don't think you can...
There's just 1 in the list, so you are safe from that angle at least.
3 clicks here, 6 cards in R&D, and Cobalt has just been keeping enough in check that unless Diogenes can figure out a Regenesis combo in the next turn or so, they're going to have a problem with only 6 cards left in the deck and Cobalt able to go for singles. I don't know if there's any code gates in this list that you're worried about face checking into, like the teenies that I think we saw in some of the other lists, but we don't have a decoder just yet. I wonder if we're on whatever the disco code gate breaker's called. I don't even remember at this point, the Ashes decoder. I guess we're on Buzzsaw, right? Yeah, we're on Buzzsaw.
Yeah, you mean Odore? Not Odore.
The other one.
Oh, it's like...
I don't know.
It starts with a U.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
Somebody in chat probably screaming.
Ute, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Server 13 goes out.
Or triple installing, yeah. Just threatening out something, and Cobalt with 2 credits cannot kind of afford to pressure anything here.
Starting with the archives check, just saying I'm not losing to Regenesis here. So we'll see if this forces out a Moonpool, which is credits, and then we'll shuffle back in R&D. There are 3 face downs, and just about any agenda besides the Sting will close the game on the spot. So Daogen's here. Cobalt has just been contesting this server. It looks like it is the last sting. So that's not going to be in the corporation score area. So that's the big burst damage, because that card would have done 3 damage plus whatever FUT has to say about the issue. So now fully on game point, any agenda will do it. And we're not worried about a Regenesis just here, unless you can like res a Plutus or something like that on your turn, on the runner's turn. But I don't think that's this deck. Finality. Straight sending it. We're just taking the Pierce's damage.
You can just break it with Bleach and Odoric.
Oh, we have leeches. Yeah, we have leeches.
And we will see 4 cards out of the deck.
Yep. We don't flatline to bite.
Everything is. If there's a change on table, every agenda in HQ, we might be in for a shocker here, but would be surprised to see this not win the game.
Dory looking good here. Going to take a core damage. We're going to see 4 cards. That is, again, most of R&D with only 6 cards left here. Hoping for a bite. I don't know if the bite does enough here. And just straight into the Fuji off the top. Yeah, there's 5 points there. No bite. So that's going to be a good game from Cobalt. Just respecting the Regenesis. Just saying, I'll trash a couple things. That cohort's been flying for a while. And the table had a bite. It had 2 Regenesis and it had a Moonpool setup there. Yeah. What's very cool is that the first run in Archives means that you can actually Moonpool back non-agendas, which is an option as much as it doesn't feel good. But you can Moonpool back any face-down cards from Archives into R&D to dilute. So the ordering there was pretty cool. Regenesis out a Longevity Serum next turn. I wonder how you do that. Oh, Mavirus could have hit Leech. Oh, no.
Yeah, interesting to see.
That wouldn't have been super impactful because you can fire them Pierce's subroutines, but it means the bite would have been lethal.
Into a bite probably would have been lethal, yeah. And you can start setting up the bite.
Yeah, that was an option for sure. This does purge. You don't see a lot of Mavirus modernly, but that means the Dory will actually be a couple short credits. Very, very cool. Well played to both players. Unfortunately for Diogens, this Oko deck, this is the last game for the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. But well played to both players. Again, fantastic weekend getting this far. Let's jump into another game.
Yeah, I think table 15 probably looks interesting.
Table 15, let's do it.
And the table here definitely doesn't seem what I would have been expecting. So we see 4 core damage taken by the runner, but we see all the orbital superiorities on the table. So
oh no, this deck has the overriders in it. So this is the prop deck.
The problem was of course this. I'm not saying my full opinion on the Métropole Grid certified stream, but
so this is 2 players from EA Sports, if I'm not mistaken. Is Dabs EA Sports?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the French reinforcement for EA Sports.
So I hope I'm not getting that wrong, but EA Sports players, both Not Yeti and Davs, showed up with this Pravdivos deck alongside some other players. And this deck has a really mean interaction, which is just very straightforward. It's just touch-ups to get 2 cards out of the runner's hand, an agenda that gives a tag, and then you just end the line. And now with Cerebral Overriders, just basically anything that gives a tag is super lethal. Now there's only 4 cards that do that. Unfortunately, 3 of them are in Not Yeti's score area, these orbital superiorities. So that means the only last card that Davs can threaten lethal on is the final copy of the only copy of tomorrow's headline. Putting in server 9 after getting some credits here. We don't know much about the hand. The end of lines haven't shown up yet. We've seen 4 influence on the overriders. This list has Checkist as well as Idios increases. So there's a lot of cards that if you run are wrong, if you don't run are right. We have no multi-access on Hosha's side. But we do have a breaker suite, and this remote server is going to cost you about, well, it's actually pretty expensive. It's like 8 credits to run.
Yeah, without any other support. We have Trickster Taka at least. Yep. We are Dog giving some support.
And Hannah.
Yeah, it's still going to be expensive run. And I don't think we might need the specific combo kill with runner on one hand size.
Yeah.
And 8 cards left in the deck completely. So just maybe running out of HP.
Single X on top of the R&D. We broke VSA for 1. Gonna advance the message chest with the prop. Not the card in server 9. Nothing there here. Yeah, this is the remote server. I'm not sure you have to run unless the card has a single advancement or prop puts an advancement. Because if it's just a tomorrow's headline, I don't think there's going to be an upgrade that allows you to advance it quickly. Unless it's, I think, Hollowman. But if it's Hollowman into headline into end of line, that's what? 9 credits, actually. That is a threat here.
Yeah, 100%. This probably was deck, much as I hate it, it actually set up some kind of nasty forks in here.
No, for sure, for sure. And whether it's just like running the right traps, the idea is that a single advanced card is lethal is like, it's wild that EA Sports is continuing to play another like 7-point agenda NBN, kill deck where if you don't run, you just die. But they definitely found another one. I wonder if you have to even play around like Public Trail. The deck has Public Trail in it, so even just Public Trail and end the line, Not Yeti has to keep over at least 8 credits because Not Yeti cannot keep over 4 cards in hand.
Yeah, definitely similar vibes to the Re-Education deck where it's just do a thing really strongly and hope your opponent kinda either has a bad luck or just misplays into you. And that seems to have been paying off. I think a lot of players bringing the EA Sport as probably was listed.
It's been doing quite well.
So yeah, definitely performing well.
I'm imagining a lot of players like Not Yeti even here would give a lot of influence just for a single copy of No Free Lunch, which I'm imagining does a fair bit to stymie the power of this deck. But both players, mind you, are in the upper bracket here, so no matter which of these two knocks their teammate out, they will still continue on and hopefully see each other in the finals.
Yeah, that's definitely always what you want to happen.
Yeah.
When you play against your good friends on the tournaments.
Like the fire straight into the remote server.
Oh,
I don't know what text we're blanking. I guess we're blanking in Amaze Amusements is my guess. But this will put Not Yeti on low credits, so we'll have to worry about some damage. Banhart taking cards out of hand there, ping for 1, so we're saving the Mess and Chesvo credits. It's 4 to break that. We already lost the 3.
So yeah, we decided that we don't need any maximum hand size anymore.
Yeah, you died a Public Trail on the line. Not Yeti 1 credit short of that, but Hannah means you can credit exactly to 8. So you're safe against the line. No, those cards are in archives, but it is a Hearts and Minds. So that actually is a fork. I did not know this was in the deck. So that is a card that you had to worry. If that was the tomorrow's headline, that instead of the Holloman could get out. Now, those cards are trashed. They're not revealed, so they are in archives. So there's an agenda in there. Davs only has 5 cards left in R&D. And again, this deck is running 20 points. So the agendas have to be somewhere. It's Public Trail.
Public Trail?
What can we do? Force 8? Yeah. Now you're short to do Public Trail to end the line because not only clicks but credits.
Install your agenda on the table and have your opponent do something extra.
But I don't think on 5 credits, like you're worried that they do anything. Well, what does the Yeti do? Trash Hearts and Minds pass?
Probably, yeah.
Getting that Hoshiko draw, luckily on no credits, you're helping out a bit there. The Hearts and Minds you don't have to deal with here. I imagine you can just click for, you don't even have to run archives. You can just click for 4.
Feels like that probably has to be the turn here. Click for 4. Try to contest remote in the future or
just run centrals.
Archives.
Checking archives. Now this will force Hoshiko to stay flipped, but we'll see if it's an agenda. It wasn't an agenda. And end of the line is the bin. The remote server was Hollowman Checkist. That was a sick light the fire to deal with the Checkist without having to deal with the Checkist. As much as we're now on 5 core damage. Now that is an expensive check because
cannot hold anything in hand anymore.
Yeah, whatever you top deck off Hoshiko is going to be in the bin. And because we touched a card here, Hoshiko is going to draw a card but lose a credit. That might be a fine trade with the Banhar on the table. But Davs on 4 credits, 4 cards in R&D. I do not think there's time enough. I do not know how many end the lines are in the deck. But now a card in the server here. Worst case scenario, Hearts and Minds puts an advancement. You do advance, end the line. That will flatline Not Yeti. But Not Yeti can run this server for 2 cards. And, well, you need 4 credits, actually, because the Mess and Chesvo ping. I guess Taka, you're fine. You can just run it. Draw it, run.
Yeah, you can just use Taka, click for draw, run. Lets you get in there. It doesn't let you survive the repercussions of getting in there, which is a scary part of the thing.
If it's an overwriter, it's a problem, you flatline. If it's a Urtica, it's a problem, you flatline. If it's a Checkist, you'll have problems involving flatlining.
Yeah, for sure. There's a world where going just R&D is safer of the options.
Yeah, even HQ is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, like there's so many agendas in the deck still left.
Yeah.
That you're kind of like winning the game anywhere you go. I think like
HQ has to have like 4 agendas in it.
Yeah, 4 or 5 maybe.
So now Yeti has to make the decision here. The pause here, you get the Hoshiko draw, you decide where to put Banhar. Now Mess and Chesvo will take your money, but it'll just be 2 net damage, and we have cards to boot. Just checking here in the heap, we have 3 Steel Skins, 2 Strike Funds out. Sorry, 3 Strike Funds out. So we're not going to be making money at instant speed running any of these servers. 4 clicks. Yeti needs to figure out what the Banhar is. I have no doubt both players have had a fair bit of testing playing against internally against the decks they're bringing to this tournament.
Surprisingly, what I've heard through the grapevine,
Yeah.
apparently this Pravdavos deck was kind of like a last minute idea for the people
Wednesday
like
night.
struggling with finding a corp deck.
Yeah.
So I think we might have less practice into it than we might have expected.
It's server 9. Yeti's biting on the remote server again.
Oh,
Just about any trap is a flatline. Whether it is the Checkist, whether it is the Cerebral Overrider. I don't have the list on Urtica, but we're going to say, I'm going to start with R&D. Outermost is a ping. So you can break and then float the tag. Looks like we're going in. Taka for 1, VSA for 1. We can clear the tag still.
You can clear the tag and actually run back into server 9, I believe.
I think so. That's it. There's the headline.
Oh, but doesn't need, just finds it.
Just finds it. Well played to both players. I have no doubt they're in voice chat somewhere talking through the game, but not Yeti there. Getting down to 5 core damage and still winning the game. That is just kind of the way. Well played to both players. Again, this is the upper bracket, so we'll see these players continue on. I have no doubt we're going to see a bit more of this Pravdavos this tournament. It looks like a pretty wild deck. Well played.
Yeah, I believe there's just one game still going on.
I'll jump in.
Yeah, still 10 minutes left in the round, so
Elio
game would be in any point of the game.
also has a salvo testing. The heck? I don't know if she's doing core damage.
Oh.
I wonder if she just had to play more 5/3s, but we saw us send a message in the last game, if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like we're on 4 5/3s, or whether there's a mix, because we're not ontological. So I don't know. Maybe we just didn't want to play the 4/3, the neutral. But let's talk about this board state. Stargate on the table. Phoenix actually likes Leo a fair bit, because a lot of Byroids have a subroutine you can let fire and not mine so much. Like, look at that Harkarl over there. Just take that core damage. You get that disruption. But we're up 6. We're running their remote server. It's double advanced. Elio probably hasn't fired here. Outermost is a Boomy. Carbon, not a great interaction there, as much as the Game Dragon's on the banner to deal with Braun. Kind of sick.
Yeah, actually, Banner probably biggest winner of any card in the meta game.
Very good.
If you think about the amount of barriers that actually have nasty face checks, it's kind of a lot less than it used to be.
6 strength MIC. Unity is going to be able to boost that relatively elegantly. The outermost Boomy was touched by Benhar. Now, if this runs successful, Rio gets the disruption. So we'll see if we throw the Isaac. Throwing the Boomy might not do as much if you want to force the run back here. But if Small Grump finds the last agenda here, the top placing Phoenix in this tournament. There we go. Isaac going to show
use the Leo,
his way out. Leo construction. So now Small Grump has to run back. Now, the Game Dragon, you only move at the start of your turn. So if you want to slide it to the Carmen, it is unfortunately too late here. We have a twinning with 8 counters. We have a cacophony. We have so many wild win conditions here. The maps are being run. So what is this? Boomy, you can let take the core damage. That's fine. So this is 3 credits. The MIC, you have to boost 4, 5, 6. So you can run back here, no problem. Is there a double advance card in this deck that's not on an agenda? With open deck lists, you know guaranteed. You need to run this click to beat MIC, but I have no doubt Small Grump can just send it here.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where you just count the math just because you can. There's still a lot of time, so just make sure that you get in there.
Boomy on the outermost has some subroutines, trash and install programs, super important with the MIC behind it. But you technically can take the core damage if you want to. In theory, you're incentivized to let Rio do Rio's thing, but if you're going to win the game, I don't think that text matters that much. Going to pay the full 4. Carbon, very bad at dealing with drafter like breakers, will pay the premium. MIC here, Unity boosts up for, what is it, for 1 to get the 4 strength? Oh, it's actually 4 strength now because of Isaac. Yeah, it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah, because Isaac has gone.
Card we're accessing, double advance card. You can throw the MIC just to make sure your opponent has a chance of misplaying, but I have no doubt we're going to commit to this line.
Try to make your opponent think it's an eco project.
Yeah, there's a Sam.
Send a message. Yeah, just getting stolen.
9 points. Unfortunately, Alistair going to be knocked down to that chase bracket, but Small Grump still entirely undefeated this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I think they only took 1 ID in one of the later rounds, but I think they haven't lost a game in Netrunner. I don't know who this player is. This is sick.
Yeah, like the Rio deck putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
And just otherwise looking like kind of a like Reko Shiko idea, where just have your inbuilt disruption.
I like it a
Definitely
lot, man.
interesting idea.
It's been really fun to play Phoenix. That disruption, the credits, it's just like feels smooth. You're relying on Banhar anyways. You're playing an Anarch deck. Why not get some value from it as well? Yeah, this deck has so much pressure. I can't believe Cacophony, Stargate, and Twinning. It actually has a breaker suite that's like not bad that it converts to in the late game, even with Game Dragon. So it's like doing a bit of everything. Whether it does it better than Hoshiko, it looks like the pressure, the text is actually worth something in this tournament. So that's really cool. All right, let's give a refresh here. It looks like we had a nearly straight runner sweep, only passive Mult taking a Thule game off of Kabloosh against Phoenix. Now, I want to make sure we can shout out the right names here, but again, I believe 4 players have hit the bottom of the bracket and unfortunately will be ending their run this weekend.
Yeah, sadly, like the biggest problem with double elimination tournaments is that 4 out of the fields just get to play 2 games.
Yeah, feels bad.
Yeah, but like we just don't have a better system here.
Yeah, it's a pretty fine system.
Keep on grinding, but yeah, for the final day, just get some sports feel in the arena, where just start eliminating everybody with kind of a rapid pace.
So let's see here if we can jump down to the front page, whether it'll tell us who is left standing again. 4 players have got their second elimination. And right before we're going to be moving on to the 3rd round, this has been a really cool tournament. This has been really exciting. Also, welcome if you're tuning in to the Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for hanging out. This is the Summer Showdown. Man of the Moon has been organizing this event, or these events now, for it feels like a couple of years. And we had 149 players come out to play some organized play Elevation, and today is the top cut. We're left with 16 players. I think we're now down to 12. Aksu, say something really nice about yourself and your channel.
I mean, I just host these tournaments when nobody else is around.
You do more than that.
I don't have a bone in myself that can say nice things about my own channel, but
all right, you gotta check out Aksu _ Netrunner on YouTube. Aksu does video content and does a lot of like organized play streaming to way late hours in the Finnish evening, and I hugely appreciate that. So give a subscribe over there if you'd like. I recommend it.
Probably actually starting to do a bit more content.
Yeah.
At some point.
Do you want to shout out a thing, or do you want me to hold on to that image?
I can probably do that later.
Okay. Got knocked out, time to stay with the Alpha next round. Wyatt, I'm assuming that's why not, but an incredible run, really well played. I don't think you have anything to be ashamed about. Fantastic run this tournament. Yeah, sick as heck performance for sure.
Like, it definitely feels bad when you get like knocked out after 2 games, but so many, like, the best players just can lose 2 games. Like,
yeah, it happens.
Like our circuit breaker champions lose like just 2 games in a row and get knocked out.
Look, if you have 16 fantastic players, 4 are gonna get knocked out no matter what. Apparently, Wyatt's been playing in January this year. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that always feels so bad.
That's kind of sick.
Just destroys a tournament, and you're like, "Oh right, yeah, my biggest accomplishment is winning a Finnish national."
Yeah. Really, really cool. Grinding at NYC locals. Yeah, well done, Wyatt. Glad you got Aura involved. I don't know whether this is your first big tournament or not, but that's absolutely fantastic. NYC are good teachers. I know we got some great players out there, D, yourself included. So this is our standings. 13th, 14th, and 15th and 16th place have been locked in. Now, all these players were eliminated the same round, and then their position here just is based off of their position in Swiss rounds, so they can't do anything to really impact that. But why not Diogenes, Nervous Nightjar, and Luthien? Good games, well played. Absolutely fantastic showing in a huge field of competitive tournament this early on in the meta. You're doing some great stuff, but the tournament grinds on as we enter our 3rd round. I believe after this round, we'll have a break, but let's see if that 3rd round is coming up paired. All friendly, but scary skill. All right, it looks like Aesop's Tables is, grinding on.
One of the players had to drop out of the tournament.
Oh, no, bummer.
Yeah, Whiteblade apparently had to go, so Cobalt staying in and continuing on the good run.
Was Whiteblade lower bracket? Is there a TI game going on right now? What's going on, Whiteblade? That's a bummer. Yeah, it always hurts to see that. Whiteblade's a fantastic player, a teammate as well.
It's a long day. Stuff happens. We have seen people drop out of top 3 at Worlds.
Oh yeah, top 4. I think.
Like brush. Yeah, top 4 to brush up on some fantasy draft basketball. So
Yeah, stuff happens. It can be complicated. Now, if you see on that right side, that's Anarch. A lot of Anarch. You know what? I don't know if people were really excited about Anarch coming into this tournament, but like the Sebs, the Phoenixes. Sure. Oh my God, the Phoenixes are doing great, and I'm so happy about that. And of course, the host. So, which round do we want to jump into? Again, we might.
I think I would be interested to watch the Sebastião. I don't think
yeah, let's do that.
Any this tournament yet.
I don't think we have. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's just see if we can find that table. That's Tron on Built to Last, which is the sort of Idiosyncresis Glacier, versus Dabs, who's playing that good stuff, Transfer Wealth Seb. That is quite strong in the meta right now, and a very, I would say, one of the higher skill cap runners to see play, which is going to be a treat. Okay, the table's not up yet. We'll get there in a bit. Okay, I'm going to try and pull up some of the deck lists. Again, we've got comments in chat asking where you can find the deck lists. Now, I wouldn't recommend going onto Aesop's tables, because Aesop's tables has been, as you see now with this great page, not loading really well. So if people are like constantly hitting it up, it doesn't run better. So if you could just hold off to after the tournament, we would appreciate that. You can copy paste the deck list and share them outside. That'd be nice too. I need to give a huge shout out to Jeff, who I think was like on emergency call to fix Aesop's all last weekend, which is pretty wild. Oh, we got a confirmation. Man in the Moon is working on a shareable deck list. Thank you, Abraham. I think people will really appreciate that.
Jeff literally like pushing updates updates manually yesterday, not pairing manually like some people might have believed yesterday.
Yeah, okay. So this is the Seb deck. We're looking at 1 Ashen, all the transfer wealths, and a buffer drive. That will take all your influence. Otherwise, nothing too surprising. We're on 2 Banhars, the full playset of Lagus, of course, Cruz and Friends, Gourmands, or Audrey's a breaker. We have 2 Botchlists and 3 Badge. That's actually a higher number than I would have expected. As much as Badge, Amanuensis is a fantastic engine to draw through your deck, clearing tags at the same time. We have a Katurga for some recursion. Again, Katurga to transfer wealth, playing Deja Vu Siphon like it's 2014. Feels really good. And then we have an Eye for Eye for a bit more pressure. So this deck is not phenomenal, breaking some of the bigger ice. If you can lock out all centrals and Purge, right, this deck is relying, I'm imagining, on Banhar and Audrey. It does only have a single Devil Charm. So if Toronto can get that big ice up, there's not actually that much that will destroy the ice at instant speed. That's sort of unfair interaction, because this list is not on leech. So big ice will scale well into this, and we'll see if that single Devil Charm and the triple Aquasaris crew, how they're used.
100%. I think the table is up.
Oh, already. Huge. Okay, let me jump in. Excuse me. Yeah.
Really interested to see this list work in something like Glacier that we will see here. Like, can you just deal with all this big ice that might be showing up here?
Yeah, we'll see what it is. Like Winchester, I found to be an annoying ice into Seb, because like Audrey doesn't deal with it well. The breakpoint is awkward. You don't really want to always like crew a 4-strength ice. This list, I'm not sure if Tron's on Kessleroid. That's also kind of frustrating, as much as like Audrey has to go through it, or a Botulus. A shout out to Kessleroid haters. They're not wrong or right. We'll see here on the mulligan. Tron going to start with the keep here. Again, step 1 is probably stabilize. We've seen early Idiosyncresis. Early, you want to get down that Métropole Grid. Of course, the best thing you can do is make sure you don't get transfer wealth on turn 1. And then eventually we'll hopefully see Tron ice up archives to make sure those privilege accesses, especially as we approach threat, become monster recursion cards and monster tempo cards. Did Davs keep Davs onto the mulligan? Strike Fund into Lagu down on turn 1. No tags so far, but this, before we've built a remote server, this gets card draw as soon as you put a thing in a remote server. And Tron, it's not going to put a thing in a remote server. What do you do? Do you just advance a Pharaohs to 10 strength and say you'll never crew this?
No, but like, what I don't know what are you advancing, like
Large Am?
Time in this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's expensive.
Maybe that's still like feels bad. I know, but we do have the government subsidy coming in, so you can at least have the credits to do that kind of stuff.
Remote server started. Tron is not giving any of his Lagu credits, and we're using Friend of a Friend to get a tag. Early Valentina, again, this has threat 3 text, but this just saves you a credit a turn. We're going to float a tag here into the buffer drive. We'll see if Tron wants to trash one of the Lagu or the Valentina. I'm not sure which one's a priority. Valentina could be a fair bit of credits as the game goes along, and I imagine this will be a long game, but you just have to remember Seb's text. Yeah?
Definitely feel like Valentina is the card to get here. There's just 1 copy in the deck, so
you got Praxis, so like they do come back. Looks like we're
like Ice Archives, and it starts to get hard, but
We're going for the animal shelter, and notably Seb says that if you're tagged, or not even if you're tagged, just trashing a connection costs a card from hand, so Tron has a face down in there, card in server 1. Best case, I think, for Tron here would be an anthill excavation. We'll see if Davs deals with it. And there's straight up early praxis, so I do think Valentina might just be coming back here. This card does a lot. Friend of a friend from hand, Lagu from the table. Sorry, Lagu's coming back. And this is why arsing up archives is incredibly important in this matchup. 6.
Yeah, the problem is you have to start spreading your eyes really thin.
Oh, we've done it again.
Exactly what Seb loves with bunker.
We've trashed again. That Valentina has left one more time. So now there's 2 cards in archives. There's the Manuensis and the Audrey. So now floating a tag with the Manuensis. Once you clear it, you can draw 2. But that's where the Valentina is actually really important because now Badge won't be a credit econ engine as well. Shelter drawing. Again, we can trash more things. We're trashing the shelter. I've never seen this many cards trash. We're down to 1 card in hand after wiping the entire board, saying you don't have economy.
I keep killing cards. Everything is just dying here.
Server 2 has to be a spin doctor, I'm imagining.
I feel like, yeah, you just cannot do this otherwise.
I wonder what, I thought we'd see the lockout plan, but we're actually going for the, like, you don't have money plan. Charging server 2, it's a spin doctor for sure. Immediately going to be leaving, and we'll see, I'm assuming 2 face downs go back in. So Tron actually could use Seb to just like fix the hand if he's flooded up in a convoluted way. Davs needs money. There's a Banhar. 2 of in the deck, incredibly important against this sort of ice positioning. We'll see where Tron commits that second ice. A second on HQ to not get transferred might be really important here, but it looks like the remote server is the start. There you go. You needed to see that.
Both iced up. Yeah, this is so sick for Toron here.
Yeah, really important. Now, this Wayland deck is running a fair bit of ice that has 3 subroutines, so Banhar can be tacked out a bit more. Things like, again, Winchester, Logjam. But finding the first Devil Charm, we'll see. I don't think you can install a crew and float a tag with Seb, so this is the only Devil Charm in the list. And that means with Audrey, you still, if you have a virus counter, it can break everything. We'll see if a Gourmand comes down and we start pressuring with Banhar and R&D.
No, just having to click for credits here.
Yeah. I think there's a conversation yesterday on stream about like the change of friend of friend. More people seem to be taking the tag than removing the tag with friend of a friend. Whether Anarch economy has changed or the speed of the game has changed. I think it's a really interesting talking point to see which one of these gets used more commonly.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we're just setting up here and Doves. Feels like Toron's game plan of stabilize first and then start doing your actual game plan.
Yeah.
Has been paying off here, like 20 credits, and Dove still not no surefire way to actually start disrupting anything.
Install double now could be an SDS. This 2 ice seems hard to deal with. You could technically Audrey 1 if you get a Gourmand counter, but that means Banhar will be on centrals. We're going straight for the transfer and say, putting your money where your mouth is. One of these ice can be destroyed. The other ice can be Banhard, so this can confirm. Tree line. 4 strength and end the run subroutine. That will be 1 net damage. It's going to be hitting Ashen, which buffer drives to the bottom of the deck. This is a Winchester. This is like a very perfectly annoying ice. It looks, using a Devil Charm on a Winchester feels probably pretty good as much as the transfer is going through. 9 credit swing.
Have to kill that.
Finding the Makoto Langit.
9 credits. Like remote might be assailable this turn.
I don't know. I'm assuming you're assuming that, like, this has to be Messna Chesto, right? Audrey can deal with that. Can you res 2 ice here? Ooh, that's perfect.
Another 3 end runs.
Getting the 2 credits back, huge logjam. 3 end runs, and it is an idiosyncrasis. Davs on exactly 4 becomes 0.
Oh no, down to 0 credits.
I think I've seen so many perfect idiosyncrasis this weekend, and Tron saying, I'm pushing in this remote server right now. You're bankrupt. You can't get through this, but the second transfer is actually perfect. Tron will be down to 7. Davs on 6. Again, we can Gourmand here for an Audrey counter or just trash.
Oh, hashtag no undos.
Yeah, whatever. There's undos. We're through again. This
click for a credit first. I wonder what the click for a credit is. I guess if you see like an Anthill excavation contract that you need to trash out of the hand.
If you're gonna click any, oh, so you can install, yeah, with Seb. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, that makes definitely a lot of sense.
Gourmand hitting a hedge fund, not so much to deny the credits as much as Tron definitely wants the credits here. We're pressuring R&D for a single. We do have big agendas in this deck. It does have 5/3s and 3/2s. So this Audrey can break.
What did we like double advance?
I don't know if it's an agenda. If it's an SDS to shoot the Audrey, that's pretty important. I don't know what else it is, whether it's just another idiosyncrasis to say your money is gone. We're not resing here again. If you do res here, that means the logjam can be broke with Audrey. Amanuense is going to get that tag here. You can trash the Banhar if you want to. I imagine that's the next important card to trash. There's only 2 of them in the deck.
Yeah, but we're running out of econ here, kinda.
Yep. Oof, that's rough. What did Dav see? An SDS? That's an SDS.
Oh.
Okay. Figured as much. Now, Praxis is super important as the recursion card. Katurga, I think, got put to the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, with buffer drive. I might have made that up. But now Icing Archives is really important and eventually trashing the Banhar to get that full lockout. Dav saw an SDS on top. Okay, that tracks. So Davs didn't steal the SDS and then got hit by the SDS anyways. Oh, that would be so rough. Crew. Gourmand. Gonna get the manual down. We're gonna see every card in hand here.
At least
that SDS is gonna be stolen. Now you
could Binoctor probably getting killed for credits.
Yes.
And then you feed the Gourmand to the second SDS.
Very scrappy game so far. Going R&D here again. There's no cards in HQ. Now Seb's text has an additional cost to trash the connection, so if you don't have a card, you can't do it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Tron's money has fallen apart here. Advancing for build to last. We're exactly on 3 credits here, discarding a card in hand. So this might be the known card in HQ. The last transfer of wealth will kind of line catastrophically for Tron here. No way to duck. See if Devs has it again. 2 transfers, or 3 transfers in the deck, 2 played so far. Charging R&D.
We were just talking beforehand, like the Tron had stabilized already, but having to rest these actual big eyes kind of does make it Tron is broke again.
Now the Banhar was trash, but this list is on, I think, 2 copies of Botulus, so Botulus on tree line lines up pretty well for Davs. Install Advanced in the remote server. We're going to fire Lagu. Buffer drive and Amanuensis. We'll just buffer drive the card no matter what it is. Draw a card there. 6 in hand. We're looking for 1 more Banhar. We're looking for 2 more Praxises. And Praxis back for an Audrey. That's the respect on archives there. This is going to force out either a Botulus, and even that's not guaranteed, but Tron doesn't have enough credits to res a lot of this ice. Single advance in the remote server. I'm expecting that not to be an agenda. My guess would that be another idiosyncrasis, which is just going to be that 5 credit swing. As much as you res it for 1.
Yeah, the relatively runner can kind of get into anywhere this turn.
Yo, if this hard ends the run, it needs to be above 2 strength. So if this is just a tree line, I don't know if we're playing Maskarovka.
I feel like we're just trading this and then deciding to go into R&D.
This is a huge Praxis if Tron can stop it, but on 4 credits, you can't res the Messnies. The Shylanders don't do anything. Kesselroyd can't get blown up. It'd be actually incredibly good here if it's in the deck. This is like, unfortunately, the Kesselroyd matchup where it does have legitimate text. It is just a Shylandra.
Oh, Shylandra.
So unfortunately not ending the run, doing a net damage, putting an advancement, the runner losing 2 credits. So we lost the steel skin. So this actually pushed the runner forward.
Yeah, that does kind of feel like the worst of every world.
Yeah. This does not feel like a great place for this. Archives also does have cards in it. Aquaceres crew coming down. Now we have 2 of those, which means we have 3 of those. We can blow up any ice. The logjam can be deleted if you want to float a whole bunch of tags there. And Audrey comes back. We'll see what Davs does here. The advancement goes on the card in server 1. Yeah, we're nuking the logjam from orbit. 2nd tag, 3rd tag.
We are going up to 4 tags, which does mean that Seb's ability is kind of blank.
But it's an off the books.
Oh,
huge call here. So it's going to be a couple turns for the badge to slough off those tags. But yeah, importantly, Praxis doesn't work. Seb's ability doesn't work. Eye for an eye doesn't work if you're tagged. So Davs here, though, feeling comfortable when Tron's on this board state with these credits.
I mean, to be fair, you can just kind of like change these tags into Amanuensis triggers.
Yeah.
And just keep forcing R&D. All of your stuff is already installed.
We have manual too. We're seeing double cards here. So the top 2 of R&D is locked. Tehran is stuck in a really hard spot here. Davs can click for credits, slowly clear the tags, get a Banhard down. Tehran might not be able to trash that as appealing as it looks.
Yeah, going down on credits again and again just to keep trashing cards.
Yeah, losing
Especially when you have
cards.
these few cards in hand, it's going to be really challenging.
Tehran just clicking for 3 credits again. There's one more transfer wealth here. With the banner, it's going to commit super easily. I'm not sure you can afford to click for 3 here with the threat of the transfer with only 11 cards left. Manuense is drawing 2. There's the Botulus saving the Banhard damage, and there's the last transfer. Tehran's turn entirely erased. Unfortunately, Seb's text won't fire here because if you're tagged, you can't get the Seb install. But that is just like the classic Anarch aggression, forcing backwards. Top of R&D will see 1 new card underneath the top deck, and Amanuense is slowly drawing through the deck. Yeah, click for 3 is so hard. Now it's all about the last Katurga, and if you're like deck tracking, you know where the Katurga is because it has been bottomed with Seb, and Seb hasn't shuffled. So here's like you could, in theory, the Katurga archives, grab back either a Praxis or a transfer, and then just like do the same whole time lock.
Yeah, we're also soon going to be in the position where Asen just puts everything back in the deck.
Yeah. There's a message, Espo. Can't break that.
Yeah, just
Going to take 2
like
damage.
That's getting deleted.
Oh my god, yeah, you're
sure.
right. It's gone. 2 cards on RD. One of them is unknown. Anthill, trash for 1 is perfect for Badge and Audrey, which allows you to clear those tags a bit faster.
Just access more cards.
Oh man, I think
it's completely perfect information. Know everything.
There's 1 card on HQ Davs doesn't know, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe everything. So we'll know what that ice is. Very likely.
I believe so. We run last turn. So
yep.
HQ, so we know everything in hand.
Banhard R&D, credit, gamble. Again, there's 1 Ashen in this deck too, which at some point will get played. On 3 credits, we're going to see 1 new card with Manuel. It's an Idios increases trash for 2, hitting the Badge, hitting the Audrey. Again, the money doesn't matter. We're not spending a lot of money on stuff, so just pushing yourself forward with this engine. Trash whatever we can see. We could run back here. We're discarding Steel Skin at the end of the turn, not feeding to Audrey.
Yeah, Torrent can draw through the lock here, but I think defending R&D is the more important thing right here. And this is the econ engine like here. Solidarity Badge removing the tags.
So good.
So it gets countered. That's after it gets rolling, it's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
When your opponent doesn't have tag punishment in the list.
We're cracking the buffer drive. Just put the transfer on top, saying, "Hey, if I lose the Ashen, that's okay. I can run our HQ here for free. See 2 cards, take a tag, swing you back to 3 credits. And on 3 credits, there's no ice in this deck that can be rezzed. And getting the ice res is a problem. There's a Katurga. I wonder if we're grabbing back a transfer and just saying, I'm going to put you into the dirt. Makota getting trash for 2.
Yeah, transfer of 12.
Oh no, it's 2012 again. The siphons won't stop. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's not good, Tron. Ashen's removed from game?
Ashen also.
Oh, we played an Ashen. Oh my god. So we lost a Manuensis, a transfer. Okay, that's a reasonable hit. None of the other cards really matter that much. Eye for an eye does not matter when you're seeing the top of the deck.
Yeah, 1 crew. And like, we just get to access so many cards in the game.
No, this is like, yeah, accounts have recursion. There's the above the line.
And there it is, yeah.
Damn.
Unicards access 22, just keep farming R&D.
Just so much pressure. 13 cards left in R&D before we see our next agenda there. And I do think we saw every card that Tehran drew over the last couple turns. Tehran tried to stabilize there. And I think we had about 1 or 2 good pivot turns where the siphons went across. The Archives Ice didn't keep out the transfer and then, or sorry, the Praxis. And then things started sliding backwards. But just a heck of a game to watch on both sides of the table. A really, really cool game. 6 successful transfers is a lot of money swinging over.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll play with the both.
One of the tables might be still going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's jump into It's Not Yeti versus Passive Molt.
Oh, even here, yeah, just ended here.
Just ended. I'm assuming that's a flatline?
Yeah, it does look like it.
Not Yeti. Getting flatline 5 to 5 points. It looks like it's Thule with a bit of a kill line, but also there is points getting scored out. What was the flatline? How do you flatline in this matchup?
I have like
Bladderwort
grinder damage, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like Bladderwort was the flatline there. Ozzy Mat on the table. Look at that board state for Not Yeti. Just a 20 and an Ozzy Mat, which might be all you need, barring ice will show up. But Well played to both players. This is an upper bracket. I believe Passive Mold is just going to drop to the chase bracket. Not Yeti is going to continue on, still undefeated in the top cut. Shout out to Not Yeti. You can check out TMKF Netrunner on YouTube, where Not Yeti puts up great content. And there's also like Kikai streaming there, which has been really fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
All right, let's jump back to our standings. Did we have full Anarch domination? I'm not sure. If we give a refresh, we might see those 3 show up on the runner side.
It's at least close. Like,
yeah,
Anarch's kind of doing a lot of work here.
Oh, thank you, Man in the Moon. I'm sharing Google Drive in the chat on YouTube. If you click that link, it should show you all the deck lists. This was put together by Off1515, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to Off1515. They're great. All right. I don't think we have any more things reported, so maybe we're going to hold down here. I need to get confirmation, Abraham, if you can hear me, if we have a break coming up. I know we have a bunch of people watching, but there's a chance that this will be streamed now on a different channel at this point. I believe CTZ will be taking over the streaming reins after the break. We have a short break coming up. I'm just going to wait for confirmation in the chat. We have a 30-minute break coming up. Okay. Just get some results. And we'll talk a bit for a bit. How's everyone doing on your Sunday?
I hope people are doing good. Watching sick-ass Netrunner is always such a nice treat.
It's really fun. New men and all that.
Yeah, getting this to see this wild lists is so nice.
I think CTZ are ready after the break, so if you can stream at the least round 4, that would be great. Okay, yeah, I can do that. I can throw it to a break, and we'll be back in about half an hour-ish. And then at that point, we'll cut the stream, and then we'll have the stream somewhere else. So we'll be back in a bit. But first, actually, is there something you wanted to show? Are you on for round 4 or no? This is your last round today, right?
I think that's my last round for today. Okay. Before I go, I would love to announce a small little project I've been starting to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Brandon, the King, actually are starting a podcast called The King's Court. And we recorded like a pilot episode just as a practice, and it was such a fun experience. It's going to be on YouTube and all the podcast platforms, and I would love to people to like listen to it and give feedback and stuff.
When can people look out for that first pilot episode if you're releasing it?
Yeah, I think the pilot episode is not getting released ever. Hope maybe like in a 6
in a year. Yeah, lost content.
Yeah, but like the first episode should be starting rolling in starting June. So definitely happy to start doing this kind of thing. And Brandon is such a nice co-host to run this thing with.
Yeah, Brandon is great for sure. I'm excited for that. I'm a big fan of Netrunner content, Netrunner podcast. I'd love to hear both of y'all talk a bit more about Netrunner.
All right. Yep. And I'll jump and go eat some lunch now. Good luck with the rest of the stream.
Thank you, Aksu. Always a pleasure to share a microphone with you, and a huge shout out for all the work you did yesterday. Take care, bud.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, now this means we have a break coming up. Looks like we'll still have 20 minutes in the cut. So the next round is going to be in about 40 minutes or so. Now, the unfortunate thing is that this channel is going to become a bit of a radio station for 40 minutes. I don't have a timer set up on this computer. It's just going to say starting soon, which is a total lie, but we'll be back in 40 minutes. So I'm assuming that's going to be a bit before the hour. Here in Montreal, it's about 1:13. So we'll be back for another round around 1:50, 1:50. So in about 40 minutes. So if you want to hang out and listen to some music I've licensed for the channel, shout out to that. I mean, that'll be fun, I'm pretty sure, but don't go anywhere. We have a bunch more rounds. We still have a lot of players left over. We'll go over all the standings and all that in 40 minutes. So we'll see you in a bit. Enjoy the break.
At the tone, please record your message. One for more options.
Hello and welcome back to the 2025 Summer Showdown. We are just about halfway through the top cut. My name is Andre on the Métropole Grid. Excited to be part of this event and doing some live casting here. We are joined by a new friend, Radiant. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Sam/Radiant from formerly Seattle scene, now New York. Happy to be here. I'm going to be on for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, we got a couple rounds ahead of us. We're going to be jumping in. This is round 4, so we're left with 8 players. We have 3 tables we should be looking at. So here are standings. I just want to show you quickly for the players that unfortunately hit the bottom of the bracket as of last round. White Blade, mind you, just left, had to drop out of the tournament. So coming in 12th place. Tron, we just saw, unfortunately, eating 6 different transfer welts, followed by Kabloosh and Alice. Fantastic players. They had a great weekend. Again, 159 players down to the top 16 is still an absurd amount of work. And we should be jumping into a tables. I think we might be slightly behind. We got to jump into one of these. Is there a table that you are feeling pretty good about? I don't know if you know the matchups right now.
So actually, for everyone else's context, I've had a friend in town all weekend, so I've only been hearing about what's going on through the grapevine from Month of Lost. So I haven't seen anything. So at the risk of not, I'm always biased towards Crim.
Yeah.
But if we've been watching a lot of Crim, then I don't want to, make it.
No. I think we got a good
competitive.
Crim game for you. So we're up on, by the way, if you're
Okay.
not aware, we're not on J now, we're on the Man in the Moon mirror, so you can find that link. Shout out
Right.
to XDG. Looks like we're gonna be watching, this is a game, Cobalt playing Op. Now this is open deck lists. I believe I can share the link to the deck lists, which are on a Google Drive now. Let me throw that into the chat so you can catch up. But you can follow the links. Again, this is open deck lists. There you go.
Right.
So this is an op deck. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen the deck list myself. Looks like I'll be diving through the list against a Sable deck that Motion Blur is playing. We've seen a bit of Cobalt play, and it looks like we're off already. This is op. Welcome to the new elevation meta. We lost some strong op cards in the last rotation. Border control, that 4-cost barrier that was just hard end the run on the spot to get a 3-coster. We lost the strength of Rashida, and so now a lot of these op decks are actually moving to assets. The no change in game state change on Cyber Sand Harvester has been incredibly impactful. And what Blueberry Diesel and Sable side is making me suggest that this is probably a triple deep dive list.
Actually, looking at it, it's completely reg.
Oh, wow, sick.
There's just one Blueberry Diesel, which is pretty rare. Kind of a surprising include, but yeah, it's just the twinning companions, Game Dragon, Unity. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean this in a bad way, but I've never seen a more boring list.
No, yeah, Red Criminal is looking pretty good right now. We have that Castleroid face check. The mark is on HQ, and Shylender is going to knock out the mutual favor. We do get a 4-credit Bravado and an Axis. Looks like Info Bounty's hitting the table on turn 1. This is a lot of money spent on turn 1 for Cobalt, down to 0 credits. And while Extract is the big credit jump here, whether you want to trash your ice for something else, do you know what kind of corp Cobalt's playing? Whether it's assets, this doesn't look like a great asset start.
Yeah, it does not, but yeah, it looks like this is a super damage heavy asset list. So there's Bladderwort's Clearinghouse. There's I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. The new FUD. There's FUD and Hostile Architectures. Yeah, it's looks like a thousand different, I don't want to say 1,000 cuts, but like there's damage coming at all angles. And then of course you have the measured response if the runner ever ever overextends even a little bit, that you just have to get on the spot. And the interesting include is one Idiosyncresis, which would perfectly set up the measured response. Runner thinks they're safe. Dips under 8 when that pops, and goodbye.
Yeah, there's some like really cool lines with these modern op decks, and the big card is Aziev Protocol, because Aziev, when you score it, you have to trash one of your cards as an additional cost. The card that you trash can fire op, and then that card will actually be on the table for the score, which means you can grab a FUD, which means that in theory that every Aziev does 3 damage, and then on top of like Hearts and Minds and Clearinghouse and a bunch of other stuff you can do, you have these like wild bursts on top of the threat of measured response once we hit threat 4. Motion Blur is just setting up here. We trash some cheap assets on the table. Makota and Hearts and Minds actually spread out into 2 servers, not making that stack, which gives the runner less or fewer clicks to deal with it, but maybe more money. We have 2 breakers finding Harvester. Now, Cobalt could trash this at instant speed before the Axis to go get a 1-coster. We don't care about NSIG, so Motion Blur is going to just pay those 4 credits and find a Hostile Architecture on the table as well. Not going to be able to trash it that turn, or not wanting to trash it. Actually, a credit short, more accurately.
Yeah. What it looks like, FUD is 1 to res, right?
Yep.
So yeah, instant speed Cyber Sand. or instant speed with Cyber Sand, probably pretty good. Yeah, and it looks like interesting. The in the ice, there's 3 lamplighters, but there doesn't seem to be any tag punishment, not even the end of the line. So I guess it's just being played as a cheap end the run sentry.
Yeah, like the
yeah,
IP block people kind of compare it to. It costs 3 credits, and otherwise
yeah.
it gives you the tag. There is this line where you can put an agenda in the server, and then when it gets trashed, when they steal an agenda, you get a 1 cost or an instant speed. Some decks are pulling out the FUT for that, or they're pulling out, you know, Amaze Amusements. Looks like Transfer of
Yeah.
Wealth. We're gonna get this
Oh.
through for only 2 credits. We'll see if we can duck the res on server 5. It is a perfectly
Yeah.
Cyber Sand. It's going to steal an ZF.
Transfer of wealth on asset decks is it's usually pretty risky, but you know, with them being able to res on the spot and duck that credit loss. But yeah, you can't, even without stealing a whole bunch of credits, you can't be too sad about touching an agenda there.
There's that instant speed bladder where knocking out a Game Dragon Pro, so that card's probably not going to be coming back. This you have to deal with, and there's so many options with Cyber Sand. We've seen some lists pulling humanoid resources, but icing up here makes a fair bit of sense with the Code Gate Breaker and the Sentry Breaker, or sorry, the Fractor. I think the only card that you're a bit worried about is maybe the Lamplighter for 3, but Transfer Wealth means that we have no way of ducking. We know that's a hostile architecture for 5 in server 4. Ooh, finding a clearinghouse. Expensive trash here. I'm not sure if you need to trash that right away. We do have an open archives, so we can quickly gain 2 credits and then probably charge down the Bladderwort, so Cobalt does not have any credits and we're not bleeding cards from hand.
Yeah, I don't think you need to trash that hostile out of hand. That's not getting rezzed anytime soon.
Trashing the Bladderwort. Cobalt not left with a lot. Eating 2 transfers this early is an issue. Now, we probably do have extract, so sometimes you can get that 3 credit jump all the way up to 9 credits by moving your cards around. But now on 2, we're really not threatening out much. HQ Mark is totally free now. I actually credit positive with the Chesva into the Awaken Plant. Trashing the Carmen is kind of interesting. Now, I don't know how many sentries are in this list. They might just be some cheap stuff. I don't expect Stavkas maybe, but unfortunately, maybe losing the 50-50 there for the Carmen, that probably doesn't come back. I don't know if we have backup revolvers.
It's only Lamplighter in this list, so you actually don't need a Sentry Breaker at all.
Easy.
I think I think Motion Builder is probably actually happy that it hit that Carmen. I don't think you're ever going to install that.
Finding the measured response, that is a trashable card. Getting the 2 credits on Info Bounty after the run, saying that can stay there. But now the Awaken Plan is charging turn after turn after turn for free, let alone credit positive, click positive, or at least neutral. And so now we're going to hit some cards on the table up to 3 credits. Mark roll. HQ once again. I think Motion Blur can't be happier with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cobalt's definitely not had, you know, an ideal start. I guess I don't know what an ideal start looks like. Maybe Motion Blur is just making this look like not an ideal start, but Motion Blur very in control here. It is making me a bit uneasy that he's just sitting on 1 card against a deck, which is the main goal is to fling damage around, often sometimes at instant speed. So that's a bit scary, but you know, he made it all the way here. I'm sure he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the threshold's really scary, right? With these Kesselroids rezzed, if it's an Uzyef into Slash and Burn, it's for like 2 credits. You can do 3 damage out of nowhere. Cobalt is 1 credit short of that, but if there is Slash and Burn in this deck, that is a real legitimate threat that you need to keep the cards up. HQ Mark 3 times in a row.
Jeez.
The Croupier, mind you, was used to save the Chesva credits, but now we're hitting a Basalt Spire. That is now, we're very much on the threat. They have to protect measured response. Motion Blur needs to draw up 3 cards here.
Yeah, that's suddenly it's a little bit scarier.
Yeah. Measure's sponsor was added back with the Basalt that was trash from HQ, but Motion now has to be worried at any point in time. If they've ran, now that we're on 3 at 4, it's going to either be your whole hand or 8 credits. Both of them are kind of high cost, as much as Cobalt's going to struggle to pay the 5 cost card.
Yeah, I mean, an extract right now will do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also.
Whoa.
This is okay.
Whoa, bravado!
I mean, just trying to end the game right now, I guess.
I assume so. Losing the class act is a bit of a bummer. Imagine installing that. We're going to see 3 cards here, 4 cards, and it's the SDS.
I mean, there were definitely pretty good odds to do that, but that seems like.
Wait, if that whiffs, does Motion just lose to measured response?
measured is 5, right? So I think
Credit
the
measured?
motion. Yeah. Wow. Why that seems like a completely unnecessary. Obviously, it paid off, but like.
That is a risk.
Oh no, he played bravado, so you just click for a credit, and then.
Oh, you can pay through it. Yeah, you have the 8.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
Wild game.
Turns out he did think about that.
Very cool. Okay, we got 2
Okay,
Oko matchups. I reckon we can jump into. Let's jump into D versus Passive Malt. So this is another criminal.
All right.
It's Moosely Hot against D, mind you, world runner up this year. Fantastic player. Board state is gone a bit wide there. We have a FUT with 2 counters, which means the next agenda is going to be 3 damage. And Moosely Hot does get that clickless card draw. We have a Debbie on the table, a Mystic totally loaded up, and a Matryoshka, only a $2 stack. If we look at the heap, 2 pinholes down. So whether you want to contest FUT, I think Samaxamoon is going to be the card that Matryoshka is not going to be happy to see.
Yeah, definitely. That ice is like surprisingly
it's
effective.
Cool.
For 1 sub, technically not a hard end to run. Like not exactly an amazing stat line, but it's a lot better than you would think if you've never played into it. Which I guess at this point, with all the egg decks floating around, I'm sure you've played into it. But yeah, it's a great card. That and FUT kind of the backbone of this archetype.
Now, D is on some interesting includes here. We see an Oppa research in the bin, so tags can definitely matter. The payoff of 2 Mindscapings is following that in the heap as well on a predicted planogram. But now with 4 cards in the bin and cohort ticking, you have to be a bit worried about Regenesis plays. Regenesis into a Fuji can easily be set up here. And with the FUT counters, it looks like D is just considering the start a turn trigger, whether they want to res the Reapers and start cracking cards out of hand. Oh, Mystic Miami left.
Are we going to get a kill here? Because Reaper into score Sting is a kill.
Reaper into score Sting is a potential kill. Yeah, there also could be something with Blood in the Waters potentially.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We don't have Bladderwort credits, like we can't duck. We're going to start here, hitting a Chesva and a Finality.
Those are good hits. Well, I don't know if you want to play Finality here, unless you're expecting to win.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what it is. We have Oko, we have Cohort. If it's a 4-2 on the table, you can still square see how they run to do some damage. A Fuji, I don't think you can never advance on the table. If it was a Wage Workers Cohort, you'd have a shot here, and that would do 5 damage, which is lethal. But with 3 cards, yeah, Sting is, what is it, 5 damage as well?
Sting is, yeah, with the FUT is 5 damage, yeah. Okay. It looks like D does not have the kill. I think they're playing.
Well, they could Moonpool to fast advance a Sting, right?
Yeah. Well, what I mean is that, like, based off the speed at which they're making decisions, playing the pay cash, using the ID trigger, like if you had the guaranteed kill lineup, I feel like D would just go for it. They were playing it a way that made it seem like this is not the last turn of the game, and it turns out it wasn't. Yeah.
So that double ice, we're gonna go start with a transfer here. Any ice that Matryoshka wouldn't like, probably we're just looking at an anemone for some ugly tempo swings that does fire Oko twice, or some Samaxamoon would be great. On 14 credits, D can res everything. We have 2 Chesva credits. It is the anemone. Imagine D might send the damage. Notably, Transfer Wealth is not an access replacement, so D can actually carve their hand down to make it more likely that you hit an agenda. If that's a Sting or a Fuji, you do just flatline. You might not be able to safely take this access anymore.
Oh, if it's anything, you flatline.
Yeah, you're right. Anything's 3 damage.
Yeah. No, you got to break this and jack out. That's, yeah, Anemone is brutal in this ID. Yeah, I think Passive Malt making the right choice there and just being like, I'm not going to die here. You got me.
Do you think, again, on 4 cards? Again, we've seen only 1 Reaper in the bin. There's the second. That was on the table at the same time. So D can drop Passive Malt down to 2 cards, which means FUT into Blood in the Water is lethal here, unless you finally a surprise hit a Steelskin Scarring.
Yeah, I think, is there one in here? Let me go check. There is not.
Oh, beans. No way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the influences 2 Raindrops, 2 Finality, 1 Mamie, and 1 by Advance.
There's a card on the table. That should be game here.
Yeah.
Moonpool for a Fuji.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just going to keep getting advancements, showing us see how they run in a Fuji. That's going to be 5 damage. Fuji scored for 2. FUT doing the final 3. Passive Malt getting flatlined there. Well played to both players. What a monster.
All right. Do we actually have time to see all 3 games?
I think we do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we're flying along. The games have been pretty fast. Like last round was only a 20-minute round. Everyone finished, which is pretty wild.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that management said we were ahead of schedule. This board state looks very different for the Corp compared to the one we were just looking at.
Whoa,
And that might
10 counter
that is the
Audrey.
thickest. Yeah, that is the thickest Audrey I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah. Seb
Wow.
is really good into assets, right? Like, I don't think we see Fencer Fueno or Azimad, but just having like, if you have a Hannah on the table, which looks like she just left, that gives you the click compression. You have Lagu to draw cards. Ice Cream College, with all the stings out now, the lethality is kind of measured here. Now, single Fuji no longer has text. If you steal it, you win. Gourmand, we're going to hit server 15. It's a Fuji. That's just game.
Oh, wow. I feel like we got 5 minutes with each game.
Wow.
Very fast round, yeah. Ice Cream College giving a very very glowing review of Davs's play.
Davs has been
great sportsmanship. Yeah.
The last round we saw with Davs was just absolutely a treat to watch. Really, really high skill play. Navigating what can be a very tricky matchup and making it look easy. Very, very strong player. But it's going to be the end of round 4. We're flying through this.
Yeah. To comment on what Davs is saying, Lago Anarch is rough. I had the same impression. I remember the first time I tried this egg deck, I played into Anacam and Lago.
Oof.
And was it? Yeah. I mean, I was like, I feel like that's the hard counter to this. But yeah, definitely rough. Lago's everywhere. Egg is everywhere. I wonder if that will be enough to like push this into some kind of cycle where, Akko goes down because of all the Lago, and then people move to other decks that don't beat assets because they're no longer as relevant, and then we come back, and then Akko resurges. I don't know. Still way too early to tell. But
yeah, so Akko was the most representative. There was like nearly a fifth of the field, I believe, more than a fifth of the field was playing Oko, and we actually have a reasonable conversion rate to the top cut. So even despite that, Oko is performing well. Like, it was the one deck that I think going into this tournament you had to be prepared for, and despite that, it's still doing well, which is, I wouldn't say surprising. It's clearly very, very strong. But yeah, seeing how that changes and what you can do to the matchup, because yeah, Lagu is going to be a problem for sure.
It also, like, even though it has weaknesses, it reminds me of CTM controlling a message, old FFG ID, in the sense that it is incredibly strong as a deck and has notable weaknesses. But one of the big strengths is that it forces so much. It forces the runner to think about so many different things at the same time, and they have a really tough time like prioritizing. Like planning out your turn, prioritizing where you're going to access the trash. Obviously, it takes skill to pilot as well, but I think a lot of these decks do well by just forcing the runner to think harder than you.
Yeah.
And over the course of a long tournament, that can really wear you down. That's like an effective strategy.
So if I'm not mistaken right now, oh, apologies, I don't have like a physical bracket to look at, but Ice Cream College and Cobalt now have taken their second losses. We are left with 6 more players. Now in this round, there's just 2 games going on. I believe that there is 2 players waiting for the results of this. Oh, I need a physical bracket to be able to tell this. But we have 2 EA Sports players holding down in their Pravdivos consulting deck, which has done really quite well. And we're going to have 2 players leaving the tournament from here. Again, we have at least 1 to 2 undefeated players in the top cut. Maybe actually, I shouldn't say anything comfortably when I don't have a physical bracket to look at.
Yeah. Maybe Jeff, as if you don't do enough for this community already. If we could get a bracket representation on ASOPs, that would be awesome. I'm just kidding. That man is incredibly busy. We definitely shouldn't ask him to do anything more, but it would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. So Passive, Malt, and D are the other 2 players they're in. I don't know if D has lost a round yet. Has Passive lost a round yet either? I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a way to check quickly that says whether they've lost a round in the top cut.
I'll just scroll through on my end.
Thank you.
And check really quick. Although ASOP is not the quickest right now. It's under heavy load.
Yeah. It's been, I know Jeff's done a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure ASOP Stables is holding up. There's been issues on both of the tournament software, so we're holding on for sure.
Massive shout outs to Jeff. D1 round 1 and round 2 is loading.
All right, we have two tables in the meantime. Would you rather see Not Yeti play Prov against Motion Blur or Davs play Prov against Phoenix? I want to see a Phoenix game. I don't think we've seen a full Phoenix game.
I want to see Phoenix too. Especially because I don't think there's a super clear way to build it. So I bet there's, we've had Sable for a while. We kind of know, okay, there's reg decks, there's deep dive decks, maybe some knife decks, but I don't really know what the Phoenixes are doing.
Yeah, so we saw only a bit of Smallgrum's deck. I'm going to pull it up on the stream. Bear with me for some patience because we have the deck list here. This list, from what I've seen, is wild because it's the Phoenix deck that feels like it's doing a bit of everything, right? Like it has good breakers, like good Anarch imported breakers like Unity and Carbon. It's playing Banhar as its Fractor. It has Game Dragon Pro, so Banhar can hit 6 strength to deal with bronze. But then on top of it, has multiple win conditions. It has a single Stargate. It has 2 Twinnings. It has a Cacophony. And then it's just like good stuff Anarch. Like, it's weird. 17 influence goes pretty far. We have buffer drives, we have Ashens, we have all the Baya bands, we have a Simul chip with I think 2 fermenters and 2 botuluses. It's like a total melange of good stuff Hosh, and then just like Anarch pressure with obviously 3 Banhar, Banner, and Phoenix's text box. Really interesting.
Yeah, Phoenix. I'll admit, I underrated this ID when it came out. I thought that eating a subroutine was going to be a lot more devastating and maybe not worth the trade-off in a lot of cases, but every time I play into it, it's just, it's a lot of pressure, especially against NBN. If you're playing NBN, a lot of your subs are just tempo or sometimes even blank, like on Doom Scroll, and you can very easily get that ability to fire every turn.
This is, mind you, the Prov deck. I'm not too familiar with every card in it, but it has advanceable traps. The big combo that it does is puts an agenda on the table, plays touch-ups to take 2 cards out of the runner's hand, and then ends you with end of line when the agenda gives you a tag. And so those are combo pieces that you can't discard easily to Phoenix. So we'll see again how much ice is the table. We're just getting down a Stargate, passing the turn, saying, I'm not running this turn. Prov is not going to do anything. And Davs is going to retort there with a Regolith, gaining 6 credits. We'll see if another card hits the table or whether we have that ice on R&D before the Banhar comes down, and it looks like we do. I think VSA is the ice you want here, because even if the subroutine fires with Banhar, you're going to take the tag.
Yeah. I mean, Doom Scroll is a bit taxing to Banhar as well. 3 subs, but no, I think you're right. You probably want the VSA. There are a lot of traps in here.
It's like Cerebral Overrider, Checkus, there's Idiosyncresis.
2 Checkus, 2 Behold, 2 Cerebral, and 3 Orbital. So this is a kill deck through and through. Interesting.
Buy it to draw 2. We'll trash a Regolith for free. The advancement goes on the server 2 card that was installed on turn 1. Worst case scenario, you're taking 3 core damage or 2 tags, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe 2 tags is a problem there when you only have 1 click left. But the chance of Davs having the absolute, like, the kill this early in the game is pretty unlikely. Is the deck on 1 end of the line, and how many Gaslights?
2 end of the line, 2 Gaslight. And 2 Public Trail, 2 touch-ups. So touch-ups really nasty.
It's gross.
Kill piece. Yeah, it is gross. I do not like this card, but I'll leave that out of it. It's crazy because it's just completely turns off Steel Skin, which has been for the longest time like a strong counter to end of the line. You hold 2 Steel Skins, you're very likely to, well, actually, if you have 2, you're guaranteed to get one of them hit. But yeah, double end of the line. If they just shuffle it back into your deck, what are you going to do? Makes the kill easier and gets rid of the draw. So, nasty card.
So Smallgrum finally finds the Banhar. Again, with this many cards on the table, Stargate may not connect with the Spin Doctors. But really importantly, Server 2 was advanced and left for a turn. Which means if it was the Orbital and Davs has the combo, that could have just been a flatline. You get 2 advancements with the the touch-ups, score, end of the line. That does 6 damage. That means either this is not the agenda or Davs doesn't have the pieces. And regardless which side of that you're on, it's going to be hard to deal with. Small Grump saying, I'm not running. I'm not giving you Prov counters. Install my Mystic, install my Keiko. I'll start putting on the pressure in a couple turns, and that's a second Regolith.
Thinking about the last click, probably knowing, all right, this Regolith is not going to last past this turn. Is there, all right, choosing defense. Rio's not exactly rich. I guess Dav's probably just saying, you want to come spend 3 credits and take this out, by all means. It'll probably slow you down more than me when I have this much money.
Small Grump drawing through, getting the Fermenter down, doing a bit of a power draw situation there. So we'll see if they get punished if they had a 3-cost card they wanted to play before the Fermenter hits the table. But clearly not running here, which means Phoenix is not firing. This double ice is really what you want. Single ice is a liability into Phoenix because Banhart gets through it, and then you have to, deal with the problem. But if there's double ice, as long as you can res both.
Yeah. Yeah, Banhart is wildly strong in this meta. I mean, that was always a strong card, but like, I feel like that I never feel more demoralized than seeing that card come down when I'm court.
Thinking here what to do, clicking for a credit. We're going to discard a card here. You want to track those steel skins and the strike funds. In theory, if you're playing around touch-ups, the thing that you want to do is you want to keep your hand as diverse as possible. Event is usually the call line, so you can get rid of those steel skin scarrings. But if you can keep the events out of hand and keep like some resources, some programs, that makes it a bit more tricky. But a lot of times you don't have that exact control. We're throwing out a pinhole.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think you're going to need that here. I expect most of these to be uniced. Good call. But yeah, if you can manage to keep all 4 card types in hand, then it becomes significantly harder for the corp. And it looks like they have a pretty healthy card type distribution.
Yeah.
8 programs, 13 resources, 20 events. Not the easiest guess. But yeah, also if I feel like you're never sad to call event with Steel Skin and Ashen in the deck. Even if you don't get the kill, that's big tempo. And looks like we're sending it.
This is just a single access. I wonder if you're going to jack out here. Again, Banhart is on the server, but it's a VSA. That's the worst case scenario. That's a net damage and a tag. You have no clicks left. This game could be almost over here. If Dabs has an end of the line and a touch-ups, this is game.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, losing a banner.
Funny enough, losing a card actually makes touch-ups harder, but you only have to hit 1 card when you only have 4 in hand.
Yeah. This, and you called it. You said VSA would have been the best one to have, and it's a 1 in the deck, and it came down to him too. So I'm sure Dabs is pretty happy. Is this
no Gaslight res?
It's maybe you don't. Oh,
drawing 1. That means we're probably safe here. Planogram for the standard Rashida, draw 3, gain 3, but no kill there. I wonder if you take a click to trash the Banhart. It looks like we're just gonna put down server 9.
Yeah, I mean this Banhart, like, you can't even. I mean, it's kind of off. You can't keep running through that BSA with Banhart. It's not doing anything. Yeah, that's I gotta bet that Small Grump feels like they just got a second chance at life. Probably feeling very relieved.
This raindrop's going to give you 4 credits with the Mystic and the Keiko. We find a ping on HQ there. We're going to clear the tag again with a Prov advancement. Went on server 4 there. Price gonna rip through a couple cards there, playing that for free. So we see 4 cards. Again, checking what the steel skins are. It doesn't really matter that much for Dabs, considering Dabs' combo is a fair bit more consistent into that tricky event. It's Ashen, Price, Trickster, and Nuka. Not great options. Nuka, we're going to go for the card draw.
Yeah, I don't think you're not going to be spending the credit every turn breaking ice against this deck for sure. Oh,
there's a Synchresis.
Okay.
That's a massive, it's a 10 credit swing. So drop Small Grump down to 3 credits as much as the Fermenter is taking and just putting more cards on the table. We're pretty sure there's no Gaslight on the table. We're pretty sure Dabs doesn't have both of the kill combo. Otherwise, this game would have been much shorter by now. So Small Grump has to be worried that these new cards are more potentially Gaslights.
Yeah. I also doing the idiosyncresis for value is definitely interesting. I mean, I'm not
I think we've seen a lot of it this weekend where people have been doing the 2 advancement idio and being like, yeah, that's good enough. It's like I spent very little on it because there were prop advancements and it keeps the runner poor. Yeah,
and I mean, especially against this list, you're pretty disincentivized from going to check and see if you can get rid of it.
Yeah.
This is like, in a way that more of the Cambridge personal evolution than the Jinteki decks are. This list plays way more traps than any of the Jinteki decks we've seen, which is funny.
Stargate, we're going to take a tag with a VSA. Outermost is the best of chest foe, so that's going to be 2 damage plus a tag and a credit. This Stargate is unlikely to do a lot of damage. There has to be Spin Doctors on the table, I'm assuming, at this point in the game. We're going to lose a Botulus. We're going to lose Strike Fund.
Happy with that one.
We'll see if we go through this VSA again. We don't have a decoder yet. The deck does have a Unity, which is also a bit ugly. So we're just going to jack out instead. The run is not successful, so Phoenix does not fire Phoenix's ability. 6 credits. A lot of cards on the table. No Prop Devost ability. I think Hollowman's another card you have to be scared of. If it's like Hollowman into Orbital, you can't just die. I think you're short a click. You need to pre-advance it once because I think it's Hollowman for 3. Then you have to do all your other stuff, which is, yeah, that's tricky.
I mean,
I don't think you can flatline, actually.
No, you can't because you don't have the touch-ups. Like Hollow Man and touch-ups don't come. I guess you can use it to maybe if the runner doesn't have enough cards, you can do it out of nowhere, or you can get the next big thing out of the game. That ability is really strong also. I don't know if that's ever a desired part of the game plan, but it's an option. This deck does seem pretty rich.
Price firing one more time, hitting a strike fund on its way. We'll see what the cards are being trashed. They were getting a lot of value off of our Mystic and our Keiko.
Oh, it's got to be the twinning.
I guess the twinning. Yeah. We have many ways to charge it, but unfortunately we've already used the Mystic credit this turn, so it won't be charged. Jumping up to 19 credits, drawing up with the Nuka. The ordering on the turns has been interesting. I don't know. The Simul chip comes down next.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Small Grump isn't being punished for the sequencing, but it's the potential is there every time. 2 Gaslights. Oh, this
touch-ups.
I don't.
Do you have a Hearts and Minds on the table? It would have fired by now. So this has to be a tomorrow's headline, right?
I mean, no, it could be an Orbital, right?
But I don't think you have enough clicks because touch-ups is 2, and then you have to hit end of line. It has to be.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it has to be the tomorrow's headline, the 1 in 49 to play around. But if Dabs is grabbing it, either saying like you don't have the disruption or I have it on the table with a single advancements. I think we do. Touch-ups, we have to call the card. The hand has 2 steel skins, unfortunately calling exactly the worst case scenario. Yeah. And that means this headline's going to end the line.
Wow.
Good game.
Good game. Yeah.
That is the risk. Not iced up.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
it's like ES Sports has another Re-Education Neurospike combo deck. It's like, oh, the one agenda ends the game, and it is getting there for sure. Unfortunately, Phoenix not firing once, but Small Grump went entirely undefeated yesterday. I believe 2 IDs. So doing absolutely fantastically today and yesterday, but that will be the end of their run at this incredibly massive tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this has already been said, but I believe this is the biggest online event besides when we had Worlds Online for COVID.
Yeah, that's probably true, huh?
I think it's bigger than any of the Continentals have been. So yeah, and it's crazy. Isn't this technically a CTK?
Yeah, it might just be a CTK. I don't even know if it's a CTK. It might be a GNK. I think it is a CTK though.
Yeah. All right, is the other game still happening? No.
Not yet. He's in chat, so I'm assuming the other game is over. I don't know how it went, but Davs is taking it there, holding on. We'll see if Not Yeti did the same on the other side of the table. Well played to Small Grump. We'll see if Motion Blur could take down the Profit Boast on the other side. I do think that game is over. Yeah, we just don't have the results just yet.
Yeah, this list reminds me an awful lot of what did the name of that NEH, the Near Earth Hub deck that played Reaper and SIU? That
I should know. I don't know.
That Ronji Doge and the Snare Bears Pioneer. But yeah, that deck was really big for a bit. This list reminds me an awful lot of that list. Just
the thing
jam
is like
a bunch of
go ahead.
Just jam a bunch of crap on the board. There's some traps. If runner doesn't check the right things at the right time, then you just pop the SIU and GG.
Yeah, I feel like this version of it
table
is
carnage,
like
that's it. Sorry,
it's a bit.
Chat saying it's table carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Table carnage. I think that name came from Worlds. I think the version that Rongi won cons with, or a couple months earlier, might have had a slightly different name.
Yeah, it was. Have you seen this man?
Yeah, that's the one.
But yeah, same team, same list. That Ronji pioneered. But yeah, glad I did not play in this tournament and have to play into that list.
It looks like
it looks very nasty.
That list went undefeated on both sides of the round, so 2 Prov wins. Unfortunately for Motion Blur,
Nice.
that'll be the end of the tournament, but not Yeti and Davs. They did have to face off, I think, in round 2 or 3, so they have played each other. That was, I think, Dav's only defeat so far. So it looks like we should be going on to round 7 just shortly. I think at this point, we're technically in the lower semis or lower finals. I don't have a physical bracket. I don't know what's going on. I just know we don't have a lot of players left.
I think it's lower finals because I'm only seeing 1 match in this round. Oh, no, it is.
Because there's people
lower
waiting.
Semis.
Yeah.
It's lower semis, then lower finals, and then Deer is on the upper side of the finals, which I went through and checked on ASOPs, and Deer has not dropped a game in the cut, which
Sounds about right.
Okay, if you're in the upper side of the finals, then obviously, but yeah, not surprising. Deer is incredibly strong.
Okay. It looks like we might throw for a little break here. So unfortunately here in the Métropole Grid, we are going to close the stream down. The stream will be back. Radiant will be there and CTZ will be there. I don't know the exact channel that it's going to be back up on. I'll let you know as soon as we can. My guess it's in the San Francisco on, I'm pretty sure, Twitch and or YouTube. Do you know, Radiant?
I believe that I'm like 99% sure that is the case. Yeah.
Okay.
San Francisco. We'll get a link out. But if you don't hear otherwise, go check out San Francisco. And we should be back up.
Yeah, we're just gonna get confirmation.
Do you know how long the break is?
No, it shouldn't be that much longer. Is it Jackson Howard on YouTube? That might be correct. Yeah. Cable Carnage was summoned. So, okay, we'll hold on here in the like liminal space just before we get confirmation, because I know CTZ has just traveled in, so might need some time to sit down and make sure everything's running. Okay, 10 minutes or less. Okay, that's good. So if we can just get can we get the channel in? Can you paste it in Discord and I'll share it on to YouTube?
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, just typing something with CTC.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Just put in the commentary Discord.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll paste it in.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's at the Jackson Howard. For newer Netrunner players, that reference won't make a lot of sense, but for many, it makes so much sense. And then Twitch TV San Francisco.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, that's the Twitch one. You're right.
Not the YouTube link. Okay.
One. Apologies, not YouTube.
All right, so it's going to be on Twitch TV/San Francisco. I'll have, if you're watching the VOD later, the link will be in chat, in the description, excuse me. Otherwise, the link is in the chat. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you want to take a second to leave a like on the VOD, that helps a heck of a lot. Huge shout out for folks who've joined me on comms. Sam, we had 1 round or 2 rounds, I think, technically. It's a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, that was the fastest 2 rounds.
Oh my God.
But yes.
Really fast.
But yeah, always fun to hang out. Thanks for doing all you do.
Of course. Shout out to Aksu as well and all the organizers behind the scene. Again, I always say this, tournaments like this only happen because people take the time to come out and either, well, spectate and watch if you're doing that now, or get involved in organized play. We focus a lot on the players here at the top tables, but 150 people came out to just hang out and enjoy this game together on a global scale, and that is so important. So with that, we'll continue watching the stream on Twitch TV San Francisco. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care, y'all.
See you soon.